Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
The Middle East is once again sorting out what it's going to look like post this recent kind of mini war between Iran and Israel, and what the U.S. role is going to be. Well, we're going to discover that as we progress down the road. Good morning, Mike Ferguson here. Appreciate you making News Talk STL part of this Wednesday. But you know, the deciding factor in what changed the course of everything that was happening, as you know, obviously, was the U.S. dropping those bunker buster bombs from the B-2 stealth bomber on Iran's key nuclear facilities. And that just changed everything. What's it like actually flying from the middle of the United States to the Middle East, executing a mission, and then flying all the way back? Tony Monetti's done that. He's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Air Force and was one of the B-2 stealth bombers in its history. And he was on the program with us on Tuesday to give us his take on what that's like and how he assessed the success of Operation Midnight Hammer. Give me your reaction when you see the news. The B-2s run Operation Midnight Hammer. You know what it's like to pilot one of those things around the world. The precision strike, the bomb is dropped. It goes exactly as planned. And to us, civilians, we say, oh, yeah, well, that's what these things do. But the amount of coordination and technical expertise and the skill involved in that, I have a feeling we're never going to know, because probably it's a secret and you're not allowed to tell me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But no, the truth is America invested in revolutionary technology to integrate range, payload, precision engagement, and stealth into one platform that would be a game changer someday. And just a few days ago, we showed that is, in fact, reality. The 509th, we received the B-2s in 94. That's when, 93, actually, late 93. And I got there in 94. I was one of the very first pilots. And it was a privilege and an honor to be part of the 509th bomb wing with a great legacy. And now the world knows what I've known all along. And I have flown multiple combat missions from the heartland for over 33 hours. So I know what it's like, what these guys went through. They're totally focused on the target, penetrating enemy air defenses and then putting the bombs on target on time. We call it bow tie at the 509th. And I'm very proud of the men and women of the 509th. Everyone, not just the pilots, the tip of the spear that penetrate, but we're talking about the refuelers, the security, the maintainers are world class to keep the B-2, we call it LO, low observable. And so, yeah, it was a game changer. And I believe in 50 to 100 years, they'll be talking about this kind of mission and how it hopefully brought peace to the region. And that's what we call it, peace through strength, So.
Good morning, Tony. Gabe Pfeiffer here. I've sat in a few tactical aircraft cockpits myself, but I've never had the opportunity to be in a B-2. And I always wonder about particularly those long sorties, the many, many hours of flying. And I think most civilians, they can only think of sitting in commercial for a few hours. But tell us a little bit about what it's like to actually be in the cockpit, particularly on those endurance missions, essentially that go for many, many hours. What's that like? And what sort of provisions do you have in the cockpit for you?
How do you do that?
Yes,
I mean, that's just, how is that even possible?
It's just, anyone out there that's ever done anything that's worthwhile, it takes hard work, determination, and just maybe a little bit of luck, but mainly it's hard work. And that's what America does for us in the Air Force. We train the way we fight the way we train. And so we take off and air refuel almost every sortie. So we're used to sucking on a boom for 45 minutes, and we're used to these tight quarters strapped into an ACES 2 ejection seat. And we just focus on the target. We get that muscle memory. We know what we got to do. And now when you're going into, we call it penetration mode, and you're stealthing up and now fight's on, you're just focused. You're looking at the threats, you're looking at the targets, the comms, anything that we have to do. And the B-2 is an incredible platform. We have the synthetic aperture radar. We can look at the target imagery, confirm it's what we want to do, and then we make sure we have what's called a launch and end range, and we put ourselves there. And then once we open the doors and the bomb's released, that's when you become more of a signature, and that's when they start shooting missiles potentially, and other assets can see you. So you just stay cool in the pressure. And then once you're done, that's when you're probably the most tired because it's like really late at night. Now you still have to refuel and fly another 18 hours. But you don't go there. You just go on, let's just focus and help each other out. It's like teamwork. It's all about the team, the guy next to you, and you don't want to let them down. And so you just are honest and authentic if you're tired and say, hey, man, you mind you get this AR this time? I remember one of my strike missions I've done, like I said, multiple sorties. I flew a Desert Storm in the Buff, the B-52, and now with the B-2. So I know what these guys are going through. And I want everyone listening to know that it's not like we're excited about going to war as warriors. It's because diplomacy, economic sanctions have failed, and now they're counting on you to do the job. That's a lot of burden, and you don't want to make a mistake either and kill innocent civilians. So, we're just warriors that love our Constitution, and we're willing to lay our lives on the line, and we have. And now I'm just hoping that we can get a peaceful resolve to this crisis.
Okay, so first of all, how many pilots are in a B-2? And I know there are things about it you're not allowed to tell us. I completely understand that, but because you're talking about, it's physically impossible to be awake for 30 some hours or whatever it's going to be.
Not.
Really?
It's actually not. Yeah, I've done, like I said, multiple ones, and on one of them, I stayed up the entire time as I was afraid the other guy would fall asleep while I was sleeping. To tell you the truth, man, there's a little bit of that. But no, it's a tight quarter, but at the same time, it's designed to do the mission, and you just focus, like I said, on the threats and the target. And it is to answer your question, there's only 2 pilots. A lot of people think it's an augmented crew. It's not. If you go into a B-2, it's like a 737 cockpit. If you ever gone flying and looked in the cockpit, it's tight. And we barely had room we actually went to Walmart and bought these chairs, like, beach chairs, and stuck it right behind the seats. And we could lay down there if we want to. And we don't have a microwave. So we bring, cold chicken, a Diet Coke, and apple. In my case, I bought some hot dogs, and after I struck, and I did a celebratory hot dog with some mustard on it. So I know that sounds funny, but it's the truth. It's a very tight quarters, but we do a lot of simulation. So we're constantly in the sim. Before you're able to fly these 30-hour missions, you have to do 20 plus hours in the simulator, so you can again get the mindset of what it's like. And it's doable. And then after you land, now you look at the bomb damage assessment. A lot of time all you have to do is turn TV on because they think the Navy did it when in fact we did. And it's not about pride. It's all about, BOTOT, bombs on target on time. And our men and women of the 509th were exceptional in their execution of this global reach, global power mission. Very proud of them.
We're visiting with Tony Monetti, a retired Air Force, former B-2 stealth bomber himself. Okay, I want to follow up on something you just said. When you talk about, not wanting to kill innocent civilians, you understand if the B-2 is involved, this is a big deal. This isn't the initial send a message. This is to make a massive sort of difference. Tell me about what it feels like, just from a human perspective. You release those bombs, the pilots who did Operation Midnight Hammer, they dropped that 30,000 pound bomb or 2 bombs. What is that like, knowing we have done what we're supposed to do? We've hit the target. Now it's a matter of getting home safely. What goes through your mind? Is that when the adrenaline dump happens, or what is it like having done that, knowing the massive job that you've been called on to do?
Yeah, when you're flying at those altitudes, it's very precision. We call it precision engagement. You have to get the right angle for the weapon and the energy, kinetic energy, and the LAR, it's called, launch it in range. So once you drop them, and you could feel it, like the aircraft moves a little bit, and the doors open, you hear it, and now you're slowing, and you suck up the doors, and now you're just flying smoothly. And then you're just looking at the threats, because the radars, without getting into too much detail, there's something called an IAD, the Integrated Air Defense System, where they have long-range height finders and TTRs, they're called, target tracking radars. And they're all trying to look for you. And as soon as you open up, they can potentially, just lock in on you. And that's when your butt puckers up a little bit, because There's a sign at the 509th is before the Warriors go out to the Jets. It says it's either LO, which means low of observable. It's either LO, your ass will grow. And so, and that's a fact, man. Probably I haven't used that line yet, on the show, but that's the truth, man. That's what we face, and that is one word: trust. We trust our LO maintainers and our maintenance people that they've got prepared this aircraft. Now it's our job to fly it and execute the mission, because literally it could change, it can have global implications. Our president was critiqued heavily by the media for, unleashing this power. We don't get into politics. We're just warriors, and we execute the mission. I have flown multiple missions, 17 in Desert Storm, where we did not drop bombs on one of our missions with 4 aircraft because we thought we would kill innocent civilians or potentially some of our own men. And I remember landing thinking we're going to get in trouble, but that did not happen. They said, you did the right thing. You made a good decision. We value life, and we are not happy when we kill people, if you don't mind me saying that, or stuff. Mm-hmm. We do it because our country leadership got to the point where they said, you need to do this in order to have peace in the region. And that's why I'm very proud of the men and women of the 509th, because you're not going to see them on TV, boasting about this, because they're practicing right now for the next thing that might happen. And ladies and gentlemen, I know there's a ceasefire, but don't think for 1 second that there's going to just be peace. So keep your head on a swivel. And I'm so grateful to our country that we have freedom of speech, where we can criticize even our own government if we don't agree with them. And we also have the right to bear arms. And you should do that and be grateful that we have a wonderful country. And we should be able to speak our mind, because I'll tell you one thing, a lot of us are tired of these endless wars. And that's why we voted for Trump, a lot of us, because we don't want this continuous fighting all these wars. And it seems like there's a deep state that just want to suck us into them. And Trump, to his credit, he's trying to bring peace to Ukraine, peace to India, Pakistan, and now the Middle East. So pray for our president, pray for our warriors, and hopefully we'll have a better world in the future.
Tony, we just put your book, The Stealth Way, Live Life Fully, up on the Newstalk STL book club on newstalkstl.com. If one of our listeners were to pick up your book from the book club, what they expect to find there?
Yeah, after I lost the Senate race, I took some time to reflect on my own life, and I equated stealth to low observability, and I said that's your character, and all we can do as people is continuously improve our character and see ourselves as we truly are, and not who we think ourselves to be. And I wrote The Stealth Way to teach people how B-2 stealth pilots think and operate, and of course our equipment, and it integrates sharing a lot of how we live our lives. And that's why I called it The Stealth Way, Live Life Fully. It's been a joy to write, and it's all about serving others over self and living life fully. And if you're interested in improving your life and those around you, then I encourage you to take a look at it. It's on Amazon. It's called The Stealth Way.
You can check out that podcast with Tony and send it to your friends and family easily from NewsTalkSTL.com, or go to whatever podcast platform you prefer, because we're there and you can find it there. All right, got some thoughts on it? Let's know. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Lewis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunder Stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Jamie Ullman here with the refi and debt consolidation magician, Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. Jordan, tell me about it.
Well, Jamie, with inflation high, credit card debts all-time highs, let's look at a cash-out refinance on your home. With our bagel loan, we're going to have no title fees. We're going to have no lender fees, no appraisal fees. This will help your overall cash flow mightily. It's the time to do it. Jump on now while you can. We can always refinance when rates drop. Bagel loan all day.
314-442-9570 or Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, Missouri's Attorney General has another St. Louis official in mind for removal. Is it time for Loaded Dice Montgomery to hit the road?
And since we're asking questions, did we really take out Iran's nuke program or not? We're getting conflicting reports about that. We'll bring you the update in our information segment at 6:04.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is really interesting on this because the White House is big mad that the damage assessment leaked to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And that damage assessment says, yeah, maybe we didn't do what we think we did, but they're not really sure. The administration says, oh, yeah, we beat the crap out of them.
Now, my tinfoil hat is in the cleaners at the moment. However, when I was looking through some of the reports that came out, it's anonymous sources,
Right.
So is it a leak, or could it just be we want to see somebody that's trying to minimize the accomplishments? Because, of course, some of these media stations could just never give Trump a win no matter what he does.
Absolutely, that is possible. We'll get into that in just a little bit here. All right, 5:50 right now. Okay, so let's do the checkbox thing here.
Okay.
Kimberly Gardner, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Tashara Jones, gone.
Thank goodness.
Yep. Corey Bush, gone.
See ya.
Is Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery next to get pushed out of office? I mean, Kimberly Gardner pushed out by the Attorney General. It was the writing was on the wall, so she left before they could remove her. And obviously, Tashara Jones and Corey Bush pushed out by voters. So here's what's going on is, and we're going to talk to the Attorney General later on in the program here. He's given the sheriff, Alfred Montgomery, until noon today.
Oh,
so he's given him 6 hours and 9 more minutes to resign, or the Attorney General says, I'm going to begin legal proceedings against you to remove you from office.
Now, Attorney General Andrew Bailey has the opportunity to do one of the funniest things ever. If people know that, how he got the Loaded Dice name, walking in there with them loaded dice saying, are you going to have a job or not?
That's right. Let's roll.
Let's see how the tables turn.
We've got to ask him about that.
We have to.
They say, listen, if it was good enough for him to do this with his deputies, I'm saying maybe you can roll the dice with him. I love that.
I will pitch in for that.
We've got to do that. Okay, well, that's 8:35. The Attorney General is going to be with us here. So essentially, what the attorney general is doing is saying, you know what, there's mismanagement, there's incompetence, and I'm one of the things that I'm curious about is where is that line between you're just bad at your job and this has crossed some legal threshold to say we are going to use the power of the state. Because one thing that's interesting, remember, the sheriff's office is not under the city government. And this is a little wonky and a little convoluted. Like, for instance, the Board of Aldermen is now talking about we're going to pass an ordinance saying these are the duties of the sheriff. Well, that can only be advisory because they're kind of separate jurisdictions. They're kind of separate things. I mean, the sheriff's office doesn't report to the city. The sheriff does not report to the mayor. They have to work together when it comes to things like funding and whatnot. So the city has a lot of influence over, but the sheriff is a distinctly elected city official because the city is a separate entity as far as it's its own county, basically, the way that it works. The city of St. Louis is not in a county. It is its own separate thing. So it's a little convoluted on how that works. It's not like a normal sheriff where the sheriff would report to somebody unless they're elected directly. And so this is a little different thing. The mayor can't remove the sheriff. The Board of Aldermen cannot remove the sheriff. This is under a state jurisdiction, which is why the attorney general has a role if he chooses that. So you've got the question over, well, do voters just live with the bad decision they made? Or is there an impetus less than 6 months into this guy's term to say, nope, you got to go?
Yeah, with what we've covered so far on this individual, sometimes voters get it wrong. I think that is what is safest for everybody. Given just how much of a cartoon villain this guy has made himself out to be. I mean, if you're not familiar, go back and listen to our podcasts on our wonderful streaming sites, and you can see this guy just. We don't call him loaded dice.
No, there's plenty of reasons for that. So we're talking to the attorney general at 8:35 about that. Got some questions for him because that's not the only thing we're talking to him about. Obviously, now the city has the new board of police commissioners. The attorney general is basically their lawyer.
Okay, real quick, what is the likelihood that he will end up on the board of commissioners now?
Alfred Montgomery?
Yeah.
Oh, none.
Okay.
None.
Okay.
None. No, not going to happen. Question is whether or not he'll be able to find a job in law enforcement if Andrew Bailey is successful. Now if Montgomery shapes up his office and responds to all these, at some point you have to look around and say, maybe the problem's me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes me. Maybe it's me.
I keep making negative news headlines.
Right.
It's a real problem.
Maybe it's not a conspiracy. Even the far left hates me in the blue city. Maybe I'm the problem. So if he shapes that up enough, maybe he can, hook on as a police officer somewhere else after voters throw him out in a couple years, which is likely going to happen in a few years.
So if there are any malls remaining in the area, watch out for a new mall cop.
That's right. He might almost be qualified for that. All right. Quick note here. The Animal Protective Association, the APA in Brentwood, which is where we got our cat Rosie. They say they are getting so many animals in, they cannot handle them all. And so they are they've had over 100 cats and dogs come into the shelter just in the last little bit. That's like a 70 some odd % increase compared to last year. That's a lot of animals. And they've only got so much space.
Now, do we know if any of this is being impacted due to the other shelter? The county
that's
shelter?
What I thought too.
Yeah.
The news story doesn't say that, but I've got to think because the county animal shelter in Olivet is not open to the public anymore. It's not forward facing. It's not public facing. I would think that might have something to do with it. I can't confirm that, but that just makes sense. And then obviously there are a couple animal shelters in the city that are, rebuilding and renovation or construction, and they're not open just because they are expanding and building too.
Yeah. And just for anybody that's not familiar with the rescue process, it's not uncommon for different shelters to, transport animals back and forth at, as need be when they're overcrowded, but 120, I mean, holy moly.
So the president of APA, her name is Sarah Javier. She says the level of intake is unsustainable, meaning there's only so many resources they've got. And by the way, APA, from what I can tell, they do a really nice job out there. And so what they are doing is up through the 4th of July, they're doing an adoption promotion, basically discounting the fees by up to 75%.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. So, and those fees, you're like, wait a minute, these are strays, aren't you? Why are you? Okay, well, they got to pay for the shelter. They got to pay for the food. They got to pay for the veterinarians. They got to pay for the vaccines. Then they got to pay for all this stuff for these animals. So that's what your fees are paying for. This is a nonprofit organization. And so if you go to apamo.org, you can get more information, but they are really, really hoping to find homes for a lot of these animals very quickly.
Newstalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on Newstalk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Attention all gun enthusiasts, don't miss the big Franklin County Gun Show happening July 11th through 13th at Washington, Missouri's Elks Lodge. With over 450 tables of pistols, handguns, rifles, long guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. The fun starts Friday, July 11th at 4 and continues all weekend. Admission just $10 and good for the entire weekend. Gets $1,200 get in free with discounts for veterans and first responders. The big Franklin County Gun Show at the Washington, Missouri Elks Lodge the weekend of July 11th. More info at bkpromotions.us.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio are taking issue with a preliminary intel report suggesting the U.S. bombing of Iran's nuclear program has set the program back by just a few months. Rubio calls the claim absolutely false and a game played by a leaker. The president insists Iran's nuclear ambitions have gone up in smoke.
The findings come from the Defense Intelligence Agency, according to people familiar with the early assessment. The report found that while the strikes on the 3 Iranian nuclear sites did significant damage, they were not completely and totally obliterated as President Trump claimed. The White House strongly pushed back on the assessment, calling it flat out wrong. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The president has been demanding the NATO nations spend more on their own defense, and NATO Secretary General is on board with the president's position.
Mark Rutte has said allied leaders at this summit will take the bold decision to ramp up defense spending to 5% of their GDP. It's the figure that Donald Trump's been demanding from European allies. But to soften the blow, Mr. Rutte says the new target will be made up of 3.5% on core defense spending, with an additional 1.5% on undefined defense-related expenditure to be reached by 2035.
The BBC's Jonathan Beale in The Hague. Day 2 of the tenuous Israel-Iran ceasefire. So far, truce appears to be holding up. Tonight was not our night. The words of former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo conceding the New York City Democrat mayoral primary to 33-year-old state assemblyman socialist Zohran Mamdani. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures are mixed. Dow futures down 35 points, while the NASDAQ futures are trading 27 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available Friday at awakeningfoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversary tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I wish I had better news, but same story. High temperatures in the mid-90s and the heat index up over 100 this afternoon with just about a 10% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm making it over your particular area. Same story for tomorrow. Morning lows in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Highs in the mid-90s on Thursday, and we're looking at maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm. Those rain chances pick up a little bit Friday through the weekend, and temperatures begin to dial back a little bit. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Onder Law. Call for a free consultation because winning is what we do at Onder Law. Call 314 or 618-9000.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Sweet, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up, St. Louis.
Hey, will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
All right, did we debilitate Iran's nuclear program or not?
Yeah,
we don't know.
I've seen this becoming, being brought up as a question now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute.
And the president's not happy about that. All right. Also, is another elected official in St. Louis about to be removed from office? Yeah, we're going to talk to the guy who can do that a little bit later on today. And the Cardinals, two things. The Cardinals are making a habit out of this whole home run thing.
Yeah,
hitting home runs.
Just doing it a lot.
They're doing it a lot. And Mason Wynn runs really fast. All right, it's coming up on 6:06. Let's dump some news on you.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, so how much damage did the bunker busters actually do? There's now disagreement on that. And early intelligence reports, according to multiple media reports, suggest that U.S. strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program possibly by a couple of months. Here's the story.
The findings come from the Defense Intelligence Agency, according to people familiar with the early assessment. The report found that while the strikes on the 3 Iranian nuclear sites did significant damage, they were not completely and totally obliterated as President Trump claimed. The White House strongly pushed back on the assessment, calling it flat out wrong. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so the president being asked about that, and he says that the Fordo nuclear facility in particular was hit hard, and he does not believe that Iran will restart its nuclear program for decades.
They just went through hell.
I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich.
So we've got basically some media, including CNN, saying it was a leak from within and they got access to that damage assessment report. And that damage assessment report, to try to provide the rest of the basics, they say that they have low confidence in that report, meaning that even if they are saying that the damage was very, very limited, they're not sure they're right about that. That's what low confidence means in the report, meaning this is the best that we understand right now.
Yeah, and it's tough for us to kind of fully gauge it, except for via satellite photos, essentially. And there's, when it comes to underground facilities, there's not much you can see on a satellite. So you know, it's one of those things where it's almost a guessing game, similar to, honestly, to the assessment of where to hit with those bombs. But the thing is, when you drop a 30,000-pound ground penetrating bomb, you're gonna hit something, you know, and you're gonna do some damage to there. I don't think people understand how many tons of explosives this thing is.
Yeah, this is a lot. And apparently we dropped more than 2 or 3.
Yes, there were 2 or 3 on the one site, and then there were like 30 like cruise missiles that hit the other sites. It's like, guys, these things are as big as, imagine explosive loads as big as your car. That's what's being sent to these places. It's gonna hit something. It's gonna destroy something. And you don't just, you know, work through a damaged nuclear facility. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, this portion is livable, like, you know, the houses in North County.
The dustpan and the broom. We'll swoop up this nuclear, what's left of this nuclear enrichment thing.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. It's a high precision process to make nuclear weapons. So I don't know. My inclination is actually to think that they're further back than just a few months.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying. That's what the reports are saying. That's what the administration is really angry over.
I mean, it's poking an eye at what's being touted as a major accomplishment. So you can't do that.
All right, resign or get pushed out of office. That's the word from Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey to St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery. The Attorney General says Montgomery has until noon today, so less than 6 hours, to step down or face the legal process known as writ of quo warranto. Now, that's the process to remove an elected official from office for misconduct. The sheriff says he will not resign. Attorney General Bailey will join us on this program today at 8:35. This is going to be a spicy discussion.
Yeah, I love. Now, we've been talking about this as a possibility of removing him because he's obviously incompetent and incapable, and all of the ins, and obviously, you know, we want a functioning sheriff's office in the city, so something's got to be done.
I want to go back to a city sheriff's office where we didn't even know it was there and know who was involved because they just did their thing and stayed out of the news.
Right, exactly. Like, the sheriff's office, what do they do?
That's right. We have a separate sheriff. That's right. All right. Illinois' government is spending a lot more than it's bringing in. All right. So how does a deep blue state deal with that? By raising taxes, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. So starting next week, we're talking July 1st here. A per wager tax is being implemented on sports betting. And so that has resulted in sports books like, you know, DraftKings and FanDuel and some of those. They are adding surcharges on bets because they have to pay that tax.
A fee.
Right.
Essentially.
Taxes are also being added to short-term rentals like Airbnbs as well to increase the price of that.
And maybe protect the hotel industry a little bit.
Oh, definitely. Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. And the tax rate on tobacco products is being increased to 45% of the wholesale price.
Ooh.
Now, the tax was already 36%, so they're not increasing it by 45%.
Right.
They're increasing it up to 45%, which is probably a higher amount. So basically a sin tax.
Yes.
So we're at some point, Illinois is going to get to the point where they're going to take a legal product and drive it underground.
Yes. Yes. I think New York's been dealing with the same thing for a while. I mean, I not vaguely, but clearly actually remember this one case of police brutality that kind of made a big deal about the news. There was a big guy and he wouldn't comply with officers, and they kind of got him in a chokehold, got him down.
He was selling loosies.
He was selling loosies, and that was the thing that he was getting caught up for. That's basically loose cigarettes. You sell those essentially on the street. You get them cheaper elsewhere. Right. You sell them loose on the street in New York, and they don't like that because they don't get their tax money. So obviously they're going to have a problem with it. It's against the law to do it. And yeah, it resulted in that guy's death. I think partially just because he was just an obese man. I
remember that case.
But I remember that's what happens when you, like you said, you tax it to the point where you're just going to create the underground market.
Right. And guess who can access things if it goes onto the black market? Everybody.
Yeah.
Including kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
because the gangs who do it aren't going to care who's buying them.
And sometimes it's in like the case of tobacco and stuff, it's not even necessarily going to just be gangs.
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
it's going to be somebody who's, got access to something at wholesale or from another state.
It's like, hey, I travel regularly and
I'll grab chew. I'll grab whatever. I'll grab the cigarettes and I can buy them in Iowa or Missouri or Indiana or wherever, Tennessee, and then Arkansas and bring them in and make a few bucks off each one. So that's what's likely going to happen at some point. Whether we're at that point now, I don't know, but we're getting close there. Okay, this is interesting in New York City. Polls closing last night for the Democratic mayoral primary. New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani has emerged as apparently the winner of that primary race. The mayoral candidate who is only been and he's only lived in the United States for 7 years. So he's not even an American.
Quite the newcomer.
He's an Islamic socialist. I mean, as in declared socialist.
That's fun.
Really, he's a Marxist here. He says I'll just let him speak for himself. Here's part of his victory speech.
And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors.
And he also wants to set up government-owned grocery stores. He wants to set up a network of state-run grocery stores. Because as Matt Walsh pointed out in one of his commentaries, because you want the same people who set up and run the DMV to run your grocery store, right?
Yes, that sounds lovely.
Okay, so here's where we're at, is that if Mamdani does not get at least 50% of the vote in the primary, and I think they're still settling that out.
Calculating.
Yeah, then it goes to like a ranked choice thing, but it looks like he's going to be the next mayor of New York City.
Wow. So ranked choice voting is going to bite the Democrats.
It was either going to be him or Cuomo.
Yeah. I mean, both of them are terrible. I'd still take a Cuomo over, Islamic Marxist.
Yeah.
Foreigner, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Legal immigrant, but yeah.
But still, he's only been here for like, dude, you're still kind of a guest.
Oh yeah.
you're still the new guy. Take a seat and observe for a minute.
So New York, go ahead and finish crumbling yourself. We'll be around to come in and flush the toilet once you're done destroying yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Our friends at the Freedom 13 are planning their annual ride, which happens in August. But I'm telling you about it now for a reason. So motorcycles, trucks, Jeeps, all are welcome. It happens August 30th, and it's going to include live music. They're going to have food trucks. They're going to have drinks, and it's all obviously to raise support for the Freedom 13, which was founded in honor of the servicemen and women who gave their lives at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Pre-registration is recommended, which is why I'm telling you about it right now. Learn more at thefreedom13.org. Cardinals get a big win over the Cubs at home. That is 2 in a row against the division leaders. Final score at Busch Stadium last night, 8-7.
All at once depart, no destination, making cold my to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Our country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by idiots.
On Newstalk STL.
Before you blow us all away. You wanna do that? Get up, can't you hear?
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No pain, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Graduation season is here. Make your parties memorable with Anthony's Produce beautiful fruit and vegetable trays. Perfect for any special event. We're featuring the freshest local produce coming into season, including the best tomatoes in town. Anthony's is your one-stop shop for everything you need. Fresh bison, beef, chicken, and pork. Delicious Fazio bread straight from the bakery. Anthony's Produce on Jungerman in St. Peters. Call 636-936-0496 or stop by today.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
So, impeachment?
Again.
We're talking about this again? All right.
Yeah, apparently.
So, I know, here's the thing. Does Donald Trump get like a free slushy or something if he collects enough impeachments? I mean, they punch the card.
I think so.
I know it's not going to happen. You know it's not going to happen, but everybody knows it's not going to happen. So why keep throwing the I word around?
Yeah, I know, right? But what is going to happen is Flashback Friday.
Yes.
Yes. So definitely send your requests in to Jerome. Our goal is to plumb the depths of the greatness that is 80s music.
Yes.
And we're gonna teach our young Padawan Jerome about all of the great things about 80s. And this is our bump music segment. It's our primary bump music segment of the week. And you get to make the call here. So send those in. And remember, 1980 to 1989 only. That's right. For the release date of those songs.
And I am going to be immersing Jerome in 80s rock culture in October.
That's right.
Yeah. He's going with me to see Dee Snider, Lita Ford, and Firehouse at the Family Arena. So seriously, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's a Friday. So if you get tickets, let me know if you're going to go. And then I'll make it a point to be in the lobby at the Family Arena for a few minutes if you want to say hi or anything like that.
No, you're not going to make me wear the eyeliner and the big hair that his sister did, right?
I'm not going to make you, but I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. All right, 6:20 right now. Okay, so before I get to this impeachment thing, oh my gosh, how deranged will some leftists get?
Yeah, that's one of those questions.
Nuts. This is nuts.
Every time I think they're kind of running out of crazy, they hit a new reserve.
Okay, so an elected official in California calling on Latino street gangs to get involved in the fight against ICE.
That's crazy.
I'm not making this up. This actually happened. Okay, so Cynthia Gonzalez is the vice mayor of a city called Cudahy, which is in Los Angeles County. So it's a burb of LA. So Vice Mayor Cynthia Gonzalez went onto her social media. This is directly from her.
Okay.
And posted this.
Not for nothing, but I want to know where all the cholos are at in Los Angeles. 18th Street, Florencia. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there fighting our turf, protecting our turf, protecting our people. And where you at? Bien calladitos, todos los chulitos. I'm like, dude, they're running amok all up on your streets and in your city. And Pete, when the big gang guns come in, nothing but quiet, and we're out here, the regular ones that have never been jumped in, out here calling things out, trying to organize people, trying to do the thing. So don't be trying to claim no block, no nothing. If you're not showing up right now, trying to like help out and organize, I don't want to hear a peep out of you once they're gone, trying to claim that this is my block. This was not your block. You weren't even here helping out. So whoever's the leadership over there, just get your members in order.
Jail.
Well, she's being investigated by the federal government now.
I was gonna say that's because we talked about this. We talked about the rhetoric being a little too spicy. The talk calling ICE agents. The various names of that shall not be named.
Yeah.
But we always said you got to draw the line at open calls for violence.
And she used the word gangs. She's like, where are the gangs? She literally said the word
gangs.
And she's talking about when they come with the guns, where are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you can interpret it otherwise.
Right.
I mean, I suppose, maybe her communications people was like, well, what she's really just talking about is community organizing.
Yeah.
And because they are so invested in the community, we're talking to gangs.
Her PR people were like, we will have no further comment. Her views do not reflect those of the city. We will not have further comment.
Yeah.
That's what the PR people are saying.
Okay, so for those out there that they get a little riled up whenever we use the term invasion for illegal foreigners coming here, what better way to demonstrate that we have an occupied state with illegal invaders than that statement right there, that they feel so emboldened by the government that they can make those kinds of statements, calling on actual legitimate street gangbangers to try to resist and combat essentially law enforcement.
Right. Yeah. That's the militia for the illegal aliens of the street gangs.
It's a whole territory.
Yeah. What she referred to as cholos.
Yeah.
Which I've heard that term, but I don't really know what it means.
It just means, Latino gangbangers. That's literally just,
man.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go into more depth on this a little bit later. By the way,
crazy.
Department of Homeland Security posted this statement. They said the comments made by Vice Mayor of Cudahy, California, Cynthia Gonzalez, are despicable. She calls for criminal gangs, including the vicious 18th Street Gang, to commit violence against our brave ICE law enforcement. This kind of garbage has led to more than 500% increase in assaults against our ICE law enforcement officers. Secretary Noem has been clear: if you assault a federal officer, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The Vice Mayor Gonzalez there is now under federal investigation for that the comments and that call to action, basically. Okay, so in case you missed it, and you might have, the left has a default position: impeach.
Yes,
impeach. So AOC is among those who started this effort. She tweeted out the other day, the president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generation. It is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Now, the impeachment bill was by Representative Green, the crazy guy with the cane who got thrown out of that address by the president as well. So they actually had a vote on this.
They sure did. I saw this.
Yeah. And so you're looking at basically a lot of Democrats are going, would you shut up?
Yes. The non-crazy, well, actually, I'll say the less crazy wing of the Democrat Party. They said, come on, just pipe down with this.
Right. And the vote wasn't even close.
Yeah. What was it? 123 who sided with the
120 some Democrats.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we're not doing this. Matter of fact, John Fetterman was asked about the effort to impeach the president. And here is what he had to say. The senator was on Fox's America's Newsroom. So here's Senator Fetterman responding.
He's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
Okay, so my guess is that those 120 some Democrats and a lot of Democrats around the country, unless you are on the far fringe, they realize that ship has sailed. That impeachment ship has sailed. It's gone.
Well,
you're not jumping. Yeah,
and went twice.
And so at this point, and I think Fetterman brings up an interesting point, which is what we had been arguing during the original,
like the first one,
the OG impeachments earlier, is like, wait a minute, this is the constitutional nuclear option for the worst, not just we don't like that guy.
Right.
And so Fetterman, I think it's interesting that somebody who is a Democrat, and they're all mad at him because, he's now, and remember, he's not a moderate. He's not a centrist.
No,
he's
not
a
at
far
all.
leftist.
Yeah.
And he's reading the room going, guys,
what are we doing?
This ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
And so other even far leftist, and I'll have some more audio later on in the show, are saying, guys, you just lost this,
Right.
and it's because you're not using impeachment for what it should be used for. And the thing is that if you throw around impeachment, it's like the word racism.
Yeah.
It's like the word homophobic. It's
Mhm.
like the word transphobic.
Yes.
All of these
Fascist.
Nazi. I mean,
Mhm.
all of these things that the left throws around so much, thinking that they're going to land a blow, and how we're supposed to run scared from that, like we did in the 90s.
Yeah. It's not that
It doesn't
time
mean
anymore.
anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. And what's going to end up happening is, nothing will come of this. The AOCs of the Democrat Party are going to continue their sound bites. They're going to continue to talk about, the rampant fascism, and we don't have kings here. I mean, they're the ones who are kind of spurring. They're the legitimate face of the No Kings movement, essentially.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue that, but it's not going to go anywhere like it did last time. I think last time they actually pushed the Democrat Party it as a whole towards that.
Who do they think they're winning over?
I don't know. I think at this point they've reached a level of ideological capture that the results actually don't matter anymore. It used to be a strategic use of their ideology to push certain agendas in order to advance.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they got as far as they have in the past. That's how they managed to move the Overton window so far to the left over the past couple decades. But now we've kind of, I think the general public is clued into the game a little bit better. They're certainly on the right. We're not even going to entertain the idea that we are what you say we are, because we've seen this before. Is like you said, the words have lost all meaning. So it's like, whatever, So then now that their old tactics are ineffective, they're not really sure what to do in terms of tactics, but they know they have to advance the ideology. So they're just going to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully the pendulum swing that we're currently seeing, it's kind of pulling America a little bit back, continues enough that we can kind of return to sanity.
Well, they keep doing
point.
this.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Things you talk about, the pendulum swing. That's a real thing historically. It goes back and forth. Listen, Democrats are going to win control of the federal government again at some point,
eventually,
someday. And they have an opportunity to do it in 2026, and stuff like this basically gives a layer of insulation for the Republicans. Republicans now, normally, if you've got that narrow majority, you have to make the case for you need to keep trusting us, even through bad stuff.
Right.
Now the Republicans basically just have to go, well, we're not insane.
You want those guys in charge?
Right. We're not crazy. Or at least we're not as crazy as they are.
Right.
I mean, that's the standard now. We're not as crazy as they are.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey, you want a repeat of that whole impeachment mess that we had a couple years back? You want to see that happen again? Elect these guys. And of course, America's tired of that bullcrap.
Right.
So,
Okay, big question being raised out of Washington, D.C. Did we actually do what we were told we did in Iran? I'll tell you why that question's coming, and we'll talk about that right around 6:34.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I wish I had better news, but same story. High temperatures in the mid-90s and the heat index up over 100 this afternoon, with just about a 10% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm making it over your particular area. Same story for tomorrow. Morning lows in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Highs in the mid-90s on Thursday, and we're looking at maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm. Those rain chances pick up a little bit Friday through the weekend, and temperatures begin to dial back a little bit. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game. It's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody. It's our favorite song.
This is former Cardinal and Navy Lieutenant Mitch Harris. Salute those who serve. Join the Cardinals on Friday, July 11th for Military Appreciation Night, presented by Boeing. With a special themed ticket, fans will take home an exclusive Cardinals 40-ounce tumbler, honoring all 6 military branches. Arrive early for a powerful pregame concert by the U.S. Air Force Band on the Budweiser stage. And best of all, a portion of each ticket benefits USO Missouri. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/think. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists with years of expertise. We offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him NewsTalkSTL sent you.
What happens next?
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They've been killing our people.
Happens right here.
We've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, question that we did not think, or at least I did not think we would be asking. How much damage did we actually do to Iran's nuclear program?
Right. And you don't have to wait for the government to make your part of America healthy again. You can do that right now. We'll tell you how at 7:05.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, of course, you know, we've had a lot of debates because I am not an RFK Jr. fan at all. I don't think government should be, you know, running our food supply. And I've got a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of MAGAs that just loves the guy, wants the government doing this. If the end goal is being healthier, you don't have to wait for the government to do that. Matter of fact, I would argue I probably am doing healthier nutrition than most of the people who are active in the political movement.
Oh, yeah.
So you can bypass all the government or just not wait on it. You can do it. We'll tell you how at 7:05.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could probably be the poster child for Make America Healthy. I mean, for anybody that watches the stream, Mike's in fantastic shape now. This guy could probably lift a horse.
Thank you very much. So 7:05, we're going to get into that. All right. Was the mission accomplished against Iran or not?
It's a big question.
And I did not realize we'd be asking that question, and maybe it was, but now there's a bunch of confusion over what happened. And, you know, the administration's blaming media and reports saying it's, you know, they haven't used the word, but basically they're saying fake news.
Right.
And so here's where we're at. So on one hand, the Trump administration says the bunker busters destroyed the nuclear weapons program, setting the Islamic regime's ambitions back a very long way, as in like decades. Matter of fact, this is Vice President J.D. Vance, and I want to make sure I've got the right location here. He was in his home state of Ohio speaking at a Republican Party dinner in Lima, and here's his assessment of what happened.
He was more than willing to accept a peaceful settlement to that problem. But again, this comes back to instincts. When the president realized that there was not going to be a peaceful settlement to that problem, he sent B-2 bombers and dropped 12 30,000-pound bombs on the worst facility and destroyed that program.
Okay, so then there's a report, and CNN's among those who are reporting this, who are saying that maybe just a couple of months, but we really didn't debilitate it. So the White House defending those strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities after that classified report from the Defense Intelligence Agency says the damage only set back the Islamic Republic's nuclear program by months and not obliterated it, which is what the assessment was, we were told publicly. Special Envoy for the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, was on the Ingram angle, and he says there are going to be consequences, saying the document was leaked to the media.
It's outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable.
Okay, so the assessment, by the way, is rated low confidence. meaning that we're not going to rely completely on our findings at this point. It may be right, but we can't say for sure. Essentially, that's military terminology when they say low confidence, meaning well, just what it says, we are not really confident in this assessment. We don't know. So the Trump administration says we know. And then this report from this government agency that was apparently leaked to CNN, among others, says, no, it wasn't really that much damage.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, unless you have somebody on the ground who is familiar with, directly familiar with the area and has done a thorough firsthand investigation of these things, I don't think either party can know. But we can make general inferences based on what we do know. We do know it takes a tremendous amount of infrastructure in order to create a functioning nuclear weapon. You need some place to handle, refine, and enrich radioactive material. That takes a lot of doing, and it takes a lot of doing to build that. So if you drop, and we also know there's a lot of explosives in those that was laid down in these areas where we are aware that the nuclear program was functioning. It's hard for me to believe that all of those explosives only did a few months worth of damage. That's a few. Just thinking about it. What the report is suggesting is that the amount of damage done is equivalent to that pothole situation you have on your street. So you just get the construction guys to come in a few months later and you're back in business. I'm not sure I believe that.
Yeah. So basically, did we inconvenience them?
Right.
Versus did we set them back by years or decades?
Yeah, and just to provide further context, CNN is still reporting that Tulsi Gabbard said that there was no evidence of any sort of nuclear, weapons development in Iran, when that's not actually what she said to begin with. But my further fear, especially after President Trump issued the statement that we are not going to be assisting them with any sort of offensive strikes going forward,
meaning Israel,
Israel against Iran or anything like that, but could this be a means to continue to have some way to go back in there and claim defensive measures and strike again? Because if you say it's completely annihilated, we're going to say, okay, stay out of that area for now then, versus, well, not completely annihilated, just damage. We might need to go back. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. I mean, and so that's where we got to sort this out. But here, what about this question, with Witkoff saying, whoever leaked this, that was treasonous.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go back to my reporting days and my news anchor days, which obviously I am not a journalist anymore. I try to apply actual journalism and bringing you the facts, and then it's all about opinion and yours and mine and everybody else's. If I got a hold of that document, and even if it's classified, and I verify that it's the real thing, I'm reporting it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody's life is in danger by that reporting, and there's if I'm a journalist and I get the source, I'm reporting it. Now, to your point, Jerome, CNN has an ongoing track record of not telling the truth.
Absolutely.
That's the other part of this. And the government itself says we're not confident in these findings. But if that's what the findings are, is it actually treasonous to leak it? Now, maybe it may be job threatening.
Sure,
I mean, it may be illegal. It may, I mean, it may be all those things, but is it treasonous to leak it? I don't think it's treasonous to report it if you verify that it's true, even though I hate saying that about CNN, because I think they basically hate everything that's good about this country. But but they got it. The administration is not disputing that is what the report says.
Sure. Now, I think that's treason is overstating it. It's overstating what went on there. Look, I don't like when security agencies, the military, are leaky. It doesn't give me confidence. But this isn't exactly like an operational security issue. We're not saying,
because it's after the fact.
It's after the fact. It's a post operation report about the condition of the enemy. I don't think that necessarily endangers anybody, right? It's not like a Geraldo drawing in the sand where our troops are in Iraq. That one time, it's like that's an operational security leak,
right?
That he probably should have paid.
And that's why I said unless somebody's life is in danger,
exactly.
Or let me give you just a real quick sidebar. I want to hear the rest of what you're going to say. There is back in my reporting days, there were several law enforcement agencies I had a very, very good relationship with because they knew they could trust me with information, and I was actually at times given a heads up on different raids, both at the local and federal level, but they knew that I would hold on to it because I was not going to endanger their operation. I was not going to endanger their officers or anything like that. but I can't say that many reporters now would hold the line on that.
Right.
And so there were times I worked with law enforcement. I mean, now I would still, ask tough questions, but they gave me a head start on writing the articles. They gave me a head start, but we had a very, very clear, okay, I don't want to see it on any of your stations, Mike. I don't want to see it in any of your papers, before this time on this day. You got it. Embargo until then. And then, that's how that went. That was before. Now we're talking about after it happened.
Right. And we're also talking about, something of public interest. It's not as, because information about exactly where our troops are is like, we know our troops are in country or something like that. And then they tell us exactly where they are, what city they're outside of, where they're staging their next attack. That stuff we don't, as public, we don't need to know. Now, what we're talking about now is, the public being able to evaluate the actions of our government.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's relevant information. I think ultimately, how badly we damaged the Iranian nuclear program is absolutely of public interest. So that sort of, leaked or not, I think that sort of information needs to be provided to us at some point.
Yeah, they at some point absolutely should. And here's the thing is, do I immediately say, well, CNN's reporting we didn't do much damage? I guess this thing was a failure. No, it's CNN.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course not.
CNN and their anonymous sources.
Right. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, but does that mean that we should say, okay, well, wait a minute, let's ask the question at least.
Right.
We celebrated the successful strike that no Americans were hurt or killed. This was, done phenomenally stealth wise. And the fact that they kept the lid on it was just amazing to me. But I do think, regardless of whether we like the administration or not, to say, okay, did it work? Did you accomplish the goals? And if the answer is not to the extent we wanted, okay, but at least now we know what's going on.
I would also like to give, in terms of the confidentiality of Operation Midnight Hammer, I'd like to give props to Pete Hegseth for figuring out how Signal works and not having any, not letting that one get out.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, precisely.
Nobody was talking about it over the dinner.
Now, at the same time, if I'm in the administration and I discover who leaked it to the press,
oh, you're out.
You're out. You're fired.
Absolutely.
You're and you should be.
And you will never have a security clearance ever again.
No, none.
And now the other part of that, though,
you can have trouble getting into Costco by the time we're done.
But so how would we then verify? Because I don't exactly trust any information that would come out of Iran at this point, because they're probably in the mode of saving face and minimizing everything to begin with. So if the anonymous quote unquote source got that information from an Iranian official and they're saying, no, it's not, we're still good, we're fine, look over there, not here, then
there are no tanks in Baghdad.
That's right. You remember that old Saturday Night Live skit back in the Gulf War back in the 90s?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember who
Baghdad
it was.
Bob?
Well, there was a Saturday Night Live did a skit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Rob Schneider, but one of those they were doing a press conference with the president, and one of them's like, I am an invented name with the Baghdad Times. How many troops do you have in the country and where are they so I can go count them?
Oh, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Vicky point out on Rumble says that's one group who didn't see the site. And she says other groups are saying that the nuclear facilities were obliterated, leading to the questions. We don't really know what happened because we've got conflicting reports,
right?
Coming from various places.
And Jerome's question is still valid.
Yeah.
How can we know? It's like, who can we trust now as public to know what happened there?
My default position is don't trust anybody.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new NewsTalkSTL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at HerzogMoScholars.org. That's HerzogMoScholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. HerzogFoundation.com. That's HerzogFoundation.com.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I don't want to hear about it anymore. It's a shame I've got to live without you anymore. There's a fire in my...
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, is another elected official in St. Louis about to be given the boot from office? There's a deadline approaching within hours. I will tell you about that. And the Cardinals, man, they are on quite the run right now. And by quite the run, I'm also referring to Mason Wynn running really, really, really fast. I will tell you about that play in just a moment. It is 6:48. Let's dump some news on you here.
The Morning News Dump. Are you joking? Is this a joke? Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, to follow up on that discussion we were just having, how much damage did the bunker busters actually do? There's disagreement on that. An early intelligence report suggests U.S. strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months. Here's the story.
The findings come from the Defense Intelligence Agency, according to people familiar with the early assessment. The report found that while the strikes on the 3 Iranian nuclear sites did significant damage, they were not completely and totally obliterated as President Trump claimed. The White House strongly pushed back on the assessment, calling it flat out wrong. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And as it's been pointed out in our Rumble chat, there are other agencies who say that the mission was successful, right, and that the program has been set back significantly. President Trump asked about this. He says that basically the result is that Iran will not be nuclear capable for quite some time, and they may not want to be.
I mean, they just went through hell. I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich.
Okay, so the report that was cited just a moment ago, even the agency itself lists that report as low confidence, meaning they're not certain if those assessments are correct. So the bottom line is we just don't know right now. And the administration says this was incredibly successful. The B-2 stealth bombing mission hit its target and did what it was supposed to do and nothing more.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that amount of firepower didn't significantly damage very sensitive facilities. Right. I don't know if people know this, but nuclear science is kind of hard too.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, like I know about rocket science. I don't know that much about nuclear science, but I know it's hard, and I know it requires precision stuff. And even if you knocked the table where the centrifuges are, you'd have problems. I would think 30,000 pounds of explosive coming down through a mountain on top of you 12 times would do some sort of damage to the place.
Probably. All right. Resign or get pushed out of office. That's the word from Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey to St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery. The attorney. That's right. I feel like when we're talking about Alfred Montgomery that I need to do it in a certain way.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the Attorney General says Montgomery has until noon today, so basically just over 5 hours, to step down or face the legal process known as a writ of quo warranto. Now, that's the process. You may remember that from the Kimberly Gardner days.
Right.
That's the process to remove an elected official from office for misconduct. And of course, Kimberly Gardner resigned before that could come to fruition. The sheriff says he will not resign. Attorney General Bailey is going to join us on this program today at 8:35.
We reached out to Montgomery for comment, and he said, King Kong ain't got nothing on me. Yes, that's what he.
That may or may
not have happened.
Back way, before you got in, Jerome had a great idea.
Oh yeah,
that we should ask the Attorney General if he's willing to go into Alfred Montgomery and say, "All right, let's see whether you keep your job or not. I've got these dice."
Yes, I want to see it.
It would be a fitting end to the saga.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh! All right, Illinois government is spending a lot more than it's bringing in. Imagine that. Didn't see that coming, huh? So how does a deep blue state deal with a budget deficit? You raise taxes.
But of course you do.
Raise taxes. That's what you do. So starting on July 1st, so we're talking next week here, a per wager tax is being implemented on sports betting. So this is in addition to the taxes that they place on the businesses, just basic business taxes that everybody has to pay. This is a per wager tax. So what's happening here is DraftKings, FanDuel, sports books like that, wherever else you can bet, they're adding surcharges on bets to cover those taxes. Also, taxes are being added to Airbnb and VRBOs and short-term rentals as well to raise more money. And also they're increasing tax rates on tobacco products. Now it's going to be 45% of the wholesale price. So these are significant taxes.
That's big tax.
It's a sin tax.
Of course it is.
Which at some point, and we don't know where that is, but basic economics history tells you at some point, your tax rate on a legal product drives that product underground and into the black market where the taxes are avoided and it becomes less of a risk to even risk law enforcement prosecution.
Yes,
because to avoid those taxes.
And by economic history, in terms of the lessons, we mean like New York, 10 years ago. It's like we've seen it happen. It's going to happen here too.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get to full prohibition. It's happened since then.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're just trying to incentivize placing higher bets. So what would stop like a pool of people from saying we're all going to make this bet anyways? Let's just pull together and
singular
bet.
And the thing is, the more successful the sports book is, it's like for the first, I think 2 million bets, it's a a small amount, like 50 cents or something like that. And then after that, it increases.
Right.
So they increase the tax based on how successful the book is. The more bets, which just means as we keep telling you on everything, taxes are passed to the consumers.
Yes, that's how it works.
That's how that works. So, all right. Polls closed Tuesday night in the New York Democratic mayoral primary, talking about the city here. New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, who is only been in the U.S. for 7 years, is one report that I read. He is an Islamic socialist. He's really a hardcore Marxist is what he is. It looks like he's won this primary race, as in former Governor Andrew Cuomo has conceded this round of the primary race.
Wild.
So here is likely the next mayor of New York City talking to his campaign rally last night.
And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors.
Okay, so it's not
so
for
crazy.
certain that he won that primary outright. They've got a system where if he doesn't get 50% plus one vote, that they go to a ranked choice and recalculate. But it appears that he's won that primary, which means he'll be the next mayor of New York City. You talk about radical. I mean, Andrew Cuomo was the sane one in this race.
It's wild.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you gotta stand up to that radical fascism of deporting illegals that Donald Trump is still actually hoping to get to Obama levels.
Yeah. Good God. All right. It was off, then it was on again. Now it's off again. There will not be an Annie Malone parade this year after all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Originally, remember, it was canceled because of budget shortfalls. And then there was a fundraising effort and they raised enough money to reschedule the parade. But now the organizers say the parade would take too many resources from police and fire and other personnel that are needed in tornado recovery efforts.
Oh, I see.
So they decided not to do that,
All right.
which could be just, we don't have the money, but here's a good way to, not disappoint people, but it's not going to happen. I don't know. But if that's the reason, that's a really good reason.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It really does. All right, here, our friends at the Freedom 13 are planning their annual ride, which happens in August, but there's a reason I'm telling you about it this early here. Motorcycles, I mean, we're talking the bikes, the trucks, the Jeeps, everybody's welcome on this ride. It's going to be the biggest one of the year. Happens August 30th, and it's going to include live music and food trucks and drinks of a variety of different kinds. And it's all going to raise support for the Freedom 13, which you probably know was founded in honor of the servicemen and women who gave their lives at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Pre-registration is recommended, which is why I'm telling you about it right now.
Right.
You can learn more at thefreedom13.org. All right, the Cardinals get a big win at home over the Cubs. That is 2 in a row against the division leaders. Final score at Busch Stadium was 8-7. Lars Nootbaar, Mason Wynn, Nolan Gorman all hit home runs. Wynn also had a 2-run double. The Redbirds are tied with the Brewers now for second in the division. They are only 2.5 games behind the Cubs. Tonight's game against the Cubs once again starts at 6:45. You can see it on FanDuel. Mason Wynn, let me tell you how fast this guy runs. He was on second base when a sacrifice fly ball was hit to center field. He scored from second base.
Whoa.
Wow.
On the sacrifice
on
fly.
the sacrifice fly to center field.
Jeez.
Now the center fielder had to go back near the warning track, but he scored on a major league center fielder from second base.
Wow.
That's insane. And it was, like I said, that was a close game last night. That made the difference.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
Planning your next adventure? Head to Landell EE Clothing Store in Wentzville and gear up for less. Whether you're hitting the beach or the slopes, we've got you covered at prices that won't break the bank. Find us at 12680 Veterans Memorial Parkway, just west of Highway A off I-70. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Landell EE, where adventure meets affordability. Stop by today and discover the bargains waiting for you.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The Trump-negotiated Israel-Iran ceasefire may be fragile, but on this second day of the truce, it is holding. President Trump describing it as total obliteration, the result of the U.S. bombing of Iran's nuclear weapons sites. Mr. Trump disputes a leaked preliminary intelligence assessment that the Iranian program was set back by just a few months. House Speaker Mike Johnson's take.
Speaker Johnson has largely stood behind the president, coming out against a bipartisan war powers resolution in the House that would block the administration from intervening further in the conflict. He praised the president for trying to bring peace to the region.
The president secured a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, and despite of the temporary disruption this morning, we believe that will hold.
The Speaker and Majority Leader Steve Scalise, both of Louisiana, talked about how the president does not need congressional approval for declaring a military action, which is different from declaring a war. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
With the border secure and illegal crossings falling to historic lows under President Trump, This from New York City.
The Roosevelt Hotel by Grand Central Terminal, which became a symbol of New York City's efforts to manage an influx of migrants, has been shut down. It had been open 2 years and plans had already been in place for the Welcome Center's closing in June. Mayor Eric Adams' administration says all the migrant services offered have moved to other sites. The city is currently housing more than 37,000 migrants across 170 sites, down from a peak of nearly 70,000 last January. Julie Walker, New York.
Socialist Zohran Mamdani has won the New York City Democrat mayoral primary. Record-shattering heat wave persists in the east today, although forecasters expect some relief to start arriving tomorrow. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 7 points. NASDAQ futures 67 points higher. More on these stories, townhall.com.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available Friday at awakeningfoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversary tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime, choose your own provider, and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I wish I had better news, but same story. High temperatures in the mid-90s and the heat index up over 100 this afternoon with just about a 10% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm making it over your particular area. Same story for tomorrow. Morning lows in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Highs in the mid-90s on Thursday, and we're looking at maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm. Those rain chances pick up a little bit Friday through the weekend, and temperatures begin to dial back a little bit. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Irrigation systems are put through the stress test throughout our hot Heartland summers when temperatures skyrocket and rain is scarce. Tim Jones here for Hydrodynamics Core, which you should call today to make sure your irrigation system is running at peak performance. This is critical to ensure your lawn and foliage remain lush and lovely and that your grass and plants thrive instead of just barely survive. Schedule a monthly system checkup today with Hydrodynamics Core to make sure your irrigation system is working at its best. That's hydrodynamicscore.com, hydrodynamicscore.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple saw stereo!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
It's the most uncomfortable time of the year. The temperature's soaring, the sweat it is pouring down the crack of my rear. It's the most uncomfortable time of the year. My lawn, it looks toasted. The old folks are roasted. Don't leave them out in the heat. And it sure isn't pretty when your crotch is all sweaty and it perfectly shrink wraps your meat. Key change. I gotta rearrange.
Oh boy.
It's the most uncomfortable time of the year.
Sorry about that, sort of. It really is.
Well, my yard, it needs wetting. That fat guy is sweating. What's he doing here? Get off my lawn. It's the most uncomfortable time of the year.
Okay, so you're hearing a lot about rehydrate. There's actually a better way to rehydrate. Just saying. I kind of feel like I should apologize for that also.
Sorry,
Let's also meet up for a barbecue. This one's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, and don't wait until you're in the car to hang out with us. We can be your morning TV show on your smart TV through Rumble or YouTube. You can get us there. You can see actually what's going on in the studio, like when we have guests, like what we have right now.
Like Ryan from Nutrition Stop. Ryan, good to see you again here, man.
Good to
Thanks
see
so much.
you. Thank you.
Okay, let me start there. I mean, we're in a dangerous heat situation. Basically, the extreme heat warning, as I thought was going to happen, has been extended through Thursday at this point. So we're talking actual temperatures in the mid 90s. We're talking about heat indices, into the low 100s. And you hear people just kind of throw away line. Don't forget to hydrate. Don't forget to hydrate. And I know a lot of people, of course, playing ball and stuff that they're like, go grab the Gatorade, go grab the Powerade. Man, there's a lot of like stuff in there that's not, I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to hydrate you, but there are better ways to do this.
Yes.
Right. What? Give me some examples. Of course, you brought in a couple treats for us here too, but there are other ways to do this.
There certainly are. I really love spring water, just straight spring water. And I love coconut water. Those are usually my two main go-tos if I'm really dehydrated, really, really thirsty. And of course, there's electrolyte packets. Those are really great too, just to provide those key nutrients back. But I love coconut water. That seems to hydrate me the best when I'm really, really dehydrated.
Yeah, and actually, you just brought some in for us here too. But remember, I guess it was a couple weeks ago. I was in getting my groceries, and you said try this, and it was one of those hydration packets. Now you can get something like that all over the place, but what's different about getting it from somewhere that's more conscious of saying it's going to be more natural ingredients? Because like I said, it's one thing to say, okay, it tastes, citrusy, so therefore it must be working. But if you're loading it up with like sugar and preservatives, I mean, I'm sure it's better than nothing, but still.
Well, we won't have any artificial flavors or preservatives of anything we have. And, but the main thing that really separates a lot is just really getting like a good coconut water source. There's a lot of dehydrated coconut waters. And then there's a lot of full spectrum sea salt mineral isolates and extracts. Those work really, really well.
No, we're good.
Sorry, go ahead.
We have codes.
Sorry.
Yeah, a lot of times they isolate nutrients out and it'll just like splice sodium together, potassium together. But getting like full spectrum sea salts are really important. Coconut water, it's other sources like that too.
Yeah, so stuff that's more natural, that's going to do a better job.
Yes,
basically. And now is the time, because I think the technical term is stupid hot outside.
That's a good technical term.
Yeah, that's I mean, I don't want to get too wonky on people, but it's kind of like that. But it really is like health threatening for those. So the way that you protect yourself, I mean, some things are better than nothing. I mean, you've got, just plain old water is going to be fine. You've got better water, but if you're going to do the extra hydration, then do it the right way.
Yeah, getting good electrolytes, adding in trace mineral drops, those really do help, especially when it's this hot and you're sweating all day.
Are there any things that we're doing wrong as the public to deal with the heat? Is there something that's like, hey, I wish you guys would just stop doing that because it's not helping you, it's actually hurting you?
I am pretty big on hydrating first thing in the morning, making sure you're getting at least 20 ounces of water kind of the first thing when you wake up. I'm really big on scraping your tongue. It's an old Ayurvedic tradition. Scraping your tongue, there's a bacteria builds up on your tongue in a white film. Scrape that off and then just drink a big glass of water.
And that's even before a coffee.
Yep.
Definitely before the coffee.
So one of our stream commentators asking if you guys have any sheep or goat milk yogurt, but when it's hot like this, do you recommend dairy products of any type during this kind of heat wave or no?
As long as you're hydrating and whatever your body's calling for. Protein, that's usually a good source of protein, and some fats depending on the source. And we do have sheep and yogurt, goat milk and yogurt.
Yeah, you do have those. All right. Okay. So obviously, we've had the big debates over MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I don't want to get into the politics of it right now. But you can MAMGA Make
What?
your meals great again. Okay, that doesn't have the same.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. All right. So
Can certainly do that.
Yeah. Good. So this is a funny story. Yesterday, I swear to God, this happened yesterday. I'm in the break room here at the radio station, and Larry Connors and I are talking. And by the way, Larry's got Larry Connors USA, fantastic show. He's here every day at 6:00. And out of nowhere, he kind of stops the conversation. He goes, "Mike, you look different. You said you're leaner. You're in better shape." Now we're talking people who see me every single day, because normally when you see somebody every single day, you don't notice the difference. And I've had a number of comments on that. And the thing that's been different for me, I've always had a decent workout program and everything, but I switched literally my groceries and what I make my meals from to the natural stuff that you've got. So my opinion of RFK Jr. is irrelevant. We're talking about, you don't need to wait until government does something with dyes and preservatives or ingredients. You can go do that right now. So if you really are big on, Maha, and you're big on RFK Jr., well, you don't have to wait for him to implement something. You can go do the things you say that you want to do right now.
You certainly can. We've been doing that for 40 years at our store, really just simplifying the process. We work direct with a lot of our farmers and growers and ranchers. And Mike buys a lot of meat from us. He eats a lot of bison. The bison we're sourcing is, 100% pasture raised, grass fed. So those are rich in just anti-inflammatory hormones and fats. Really, it's a anti-inflammatory fats that are in there, and they really help lean the body out and really cause less inflammation everywhere. So you're going to see a reduced inflammatory effect everywhere and start leaning out.
Yeah, I get my basically everything I have for lunch or dinner, I get from your store every Friday. I mean, you and Laura, you're like, okay, what time is it? Oh, it's almost Mike o'clock. He's almost here on Fridays. I get my bison. I think last time I got some elk too. And then I get my rice and I get my vegetables and I get all of that. Why does it matter that it's directly from a farmer as opposed to, well, are vegetables just vegetables?
Well, freshness, certainly, and really just knowing, having that relationship. You can ask the questions that you want to ask. What's the animal feeding? How, what's the husbandry look like? Just the really detailed questions. What kind of water source are the animals getting? So the better source the animal, the better the animal is taken care of, the better the quality of the proteins and meats and just livestock in general, and the better you're going to feel when you start switching to that too.
And all this is part of a sort of meal plan that you guys helped craft for Mike, right? That's something you guys do.
We can, yes, and it's more of just working with each individual person. We're not going to customize a dietitian nutritional meal plan, but we'll walk you through the store and definitely show you what other folks are using and what we've had really good feedback on.
I had a lot of questions that they answered.
You did.
I always do,
and you look great.
I'm trying. I mean, as much as considering what you're working with here, at least. So we're visiting with Ryan Mustone from Nutrition Stop, which, by the way, I'm going to be there Saturday.
Awesome.
So that's one of the other reasons I wanted to chat with you. Is there's a lot of people on our social media community said we need to have a barbecue or a potluck or something like that, and so we're still hoping to do that with the station itself here. But I'm going to go to yours on Saturday. It's going to be an organic barbecue. Tell me what's going to happen here.
We do an annual barbecue every year because we have a bunch of different regenerative meats: beef, bison, elk, and chicken. And we like to feature that and let everybody try them every year. So we do it around this time, and that's what we're doing this weekend. So it'll be beef, bison, and elk. But we're going to really focus on our chicken this year because we haven't really focused on that a whole lot. We're sourcing really good chicken from friends in Minnesota. They do tree range organics. You've heard of free range. They're calling it tree range. They're regrowing elderberry and chestnut groves and letting the chickens run forage underneath them and help till the soil and put manure in it, et cetera.
Wow. So we're talking about conservation.
Yes.
So we're talking natural conservation.
Yes. And proper, land husbandry and land stewardship.
Yeah. See, and those are the things that I'm all about conservation. I got some big issues with some of the way that the politics has co-opted some of the environmental conversation, but conservation to me should be something every conservative should be embracing completely.
Yep.
And so that's the thing is with this sort of approach to health and nutrition, this is so not political. It's not. Yeah, this is something for everybody, and that's the thing that I found fascinating. And by the way, if you want to see my video from your store, you just go to any of our social media platforms and you can find that. Is that every time I'm in there, which I'll see you again Friday. Every time I'm in there, then somebody's asking questions. I mean, some people come in and shop, they know exactly what they're looking for, but people are always asking questions, and that's one of the things that I found most fascinating. is that, first of all, you got a big store. I mean, it's much bigger than it looks from the outside.
Yeah.
You've got that whole grocery section in there. But people are coming in with questions, and your staff and your team is really passionate about this.
They do, yeah.
So, not to give away any of the trade secrets mayhaps, but especially when it's hot outside and you have people outside, especially during the summer, where they're sweating, they're losing a lot of electrolytes, but they're trying to get away from things like Gatorade and Powerade and the things that are just jam-packed full of, sugar and dyes. What does your store offer in the way of replenishing electrolytes and helping you replenish during the summertime?
We have a shelf full of different electrolyte options, from powders and packets to, powders and canisters to tablets that are effervescent, and then coconut water, and then coconut water concentrate. And then there's hydration drinks and spring water and reverse osmosis water. And, there's all sorts of options, fulvic acid water.
Why does, and we're just a little over time here, just got a minute or so left, Ryan. Why does the water matter? Because I know you've got that whole section right by the door. That's water. And you brought in this right here.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm in shape so I can lift this here. But I mean, this is in a big glass jug. Why does the water, buying the water matter from different things?
For me, that was my biggest thing when I first started my health journey, was just switching my water up. And I would eat an organic salad every day. Like, that was my thing. But the water, we're mostly water. And the minerals that are in spring water really help they're electrolytes, and they really help remineralize the body and just fill in key gaps. I just feel better when I drink it. And for me, I don't feel the same. And I feel like if I don't drink spring water, it just kind of just sits in my stomach and doesn't actually absorb or do anything. So I've just gravitated to spring water. We source excellent local spring water from Susan's Natural Spring Water. This woman is a water engineer. She has a very long history of water management, and has a lot to say about it, and really does a good job of harvesting and managing it.
Okay, so give me the basic details on the organic barbecue on Saturday.
Sure.
I'm going to be there, but we can actually meet the people who are providing the food. So if you want to see how authentic this is, you can ask them directly.
Sure. We don't have any farmers coming this exact time. But we do have, we're going to be sampling all of our different regenerative grass-fed meats. We'll have a bunch of different sides that'll all be organic certified, or really good clean ingredients, from a yam-based potato salad. We'll have 2 different distributors that will be serving different cocktails, organic booze and organic wine. There's no preservatives or anything in any of it. It makes you don't feel as awful the next day when you do consume it. So if you're going to party and have fun, at least make it, good and clean.
Yep. And the cost?
It's free. We do it every year. Just come and just hang out with us. See what we have to offer. Really, we're a really neat store that nobody knows that we're really there. We're trying to get the word out. So come see us.
I can afford that.
Yeah.
All right. So noon to, what was it?
It's 12 to 3.
Noon to 3 on Saturday in St. Peter's, right off Mexico Road. I'll put up the link to that on social media, but I'll see you Saturday. Actually, I'll probably see you Friday after the show when I come get my stuff. Again, Brian, man, great chat with you. It's going to be fun.
Yep. Thanks,
you.
Ryan. Yep.
All right, 314-912-1019. Let me know if you're going to come on out. Send me a note on social media. Let me know, and let's meet up there.
I see your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that now? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin.
Vic for Vets honoree of the day.
Tuesday, we honored Alan E. Marfell, submitted by Mike Marfell, part of the NewsTalkSTL family on the Bluff City Outdoor Show. So thank you, Mike.
The Vic Porcelli Show, weekdays 9 to noon on News Talk STL.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here. Exciting things are happening at the Hideout in High Ridge. Famous for the Sunset Patio, 4 big screen TVs, live music and events, and of course, the wings. The Hideout now has a brand new menu featuring handcrafted burgers and new items like their signature sunset dip and Dave's Chili. And now a second location, the Hideout at Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge, featuring great event space. You can stop by for lunch or dinner. The new 2025 Hideout and the new Hideout at Sugar Creek Golf Course. We'll see you there.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Steve Bucci, massive ordnance penetrator. They call them MOPS. So, Steve, what are these things?
They're delivered in our system by the B-2 out of Missouri. They go into the ground and they don't detonate until they've reached a certain depth. It'll literally take that mountain apart.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, is it time for Loaded Dice Montgomery to hit the road?
And you've probably heard our own Tim Jones call campaign season political silly season, and he's right. So does that mean silly season is starting early? We'll dissect that at 7:35. Unless we're all impeached here first.
Right. Exactly.
That could happen.
By the way, okay, it came to me. Okay,
What's
so
it?
and that is, where should Alfred Montgomery actually be with his career? Because I'm thinking he's obviously out of place with city sheriff.
Yeah. He doesn't seem suited for that job.
Okay.
So you have an idea.
It just dawned on me. The light bulb came on this morning. I didn't even tell you about this. Because it came.
Ooh.
Okay. So where he should be in life.
Okay.
Is a manager of pro wrestlers. I mean, you think about the classic days.
Man.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You've got Jimmy Hart, you've got Jim Cornette, you've got Bobby Heenan, you've got Slick. So just throw him in the mix there. Okay, the mouth of the South.
Yep.
The brain. Loaded dice.
Yeah, you're right. He's right in there. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Man,
So-
I could see that.
It can happen.
That could totally work.
Okay, so where we're at here is 7:23 right now. So 4 hours and 37 minutes from now is the deadline given to Alfred Montgomery by the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey. Andrew Bailey says, step down, or we're going to do this the legally messy way, and we're going to push you out of office.
Right. You want to do this the easy way or the hard way?
Right, exactly. That's basically what the Attorney General has said.
Yeah, sure did.
Which way is this going to happen? So the legalities of it, we're going to ask the Attorney General about at 8:35, but he's given the Attorney General an ultimatum: step down, or we are going to do the writ of quo warranto,
right?
Which is something nobody had ever heard of until Kimberly Gardner needed to be pushed out of office.
Yeah, and we saw how that worked, and it worked well. And we're that office. You know why you haven't heard about it recently?
Yeah,
because it's working.
Because Gabe Gore's doing his job.
He's doing his friggin' job. So we're not hearing about the craziness going on at that office anymore.
Right. And so with this case right here, this is another one of those offices that, I mean, am I having a little bit of fun with loaded dice and just how cartoonish this has gotten?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because nobody's actually been hurt by this.
Yeah.
But people are being in danger. And yes, by people, I'm talking about the inmates. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And they are people too.
Yes.
But they are in custody of this public entity known as the city sheriff's office. So it's a little bit weird in that the sheriff depends on the city, obviously, for budget and funding.
Right.
But the sheriff doesn't report to the mayor. The sheriff doesn't report to the board of aldermen because it's a parallel jurisdiction, for lack of a better term.
With an elected official.
Right. Because the sheriff has that role under Missouri law, has a unique distinction. There's a reason he's not police chief. There's a reason he's not marshal. He's the sheriff.
Right.
And he's elected directly by the people. And so he ideally should be working well with these other entities, the board of aldermen, the mayor, people like that. But he's not, because he's just bad at what he does. So because of the terrible job he's doing, but also because of the legally dubious and clearly unethical things that he's accused of doing, if those can be proven, and it looks like they can, the attorney general says, all right, I'm stepping in. Now, let me tell you something. Andrew Bailey takes on really, really big cases. Obviously, he's a guy who has his eye on what's happening nationally. Missouri is involved in, number of national lawsuits, things like that. He's also obviously focused on state stuff. My guess is that Andrew Bailey does not want to spend resources on a city sheriff with such a narrow scope of work.
Right.
So if he's stepping in, it's because things are so out of hand that it just has to happen. But my guess is he would rather be focusing on, catching con artists, who are targeting seniors in the state, which he has staff that's doing all that. But if the state is looking into this one local office, things have really gone off the rails. And that's Alfred Montgomery's fault, that he's not only got the attention of the attorney general, but he got the attention of the attorney general because so many people in St. Louis are saying, Mr. Attorney General, please do something.
Yes. I mean,
and
this is actually in response to call from other government officials, honestly, as well as, some of his constituents. It's crazy to think that this guy has managed to destroy the office in such little time, because he was just elected.
Right. Like this, he took office December 31st.
Yeah, right. So within half a year, a little more, he's managed to screw it all up to the point where his peers essentially are asking for his removal.
Okay, so why not just say, and we'll ask the Attorney General this, but what's your take on this, guys? Why not just say, listen, voters, you messed up.
Live with it.
This is your fault. You go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think at some voters can make mistakes too, right? Typically
and regularly
do. My goodness. Hello, New York. But typically they get another chance to fix it before it really basically all goes to hell. This is all gone to hell in 6 months.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, all right. I'm certain the voters didn't expect that when they voted for this guy for sheriff, that he would not do the job of sheriff.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't so cartoonishly mischievous, that I would be like, let's maybe he can be coached, something of that nature. But also, should we be concerned about the precedent that this might set? Because essentially, it's the government removing somebody that was elected to government, and if in the future it could be the case that the person could be fulfilling their duties, but it gets a smear campaign or something, and then they get removed. So
so that's a fair question.
Yes,
too.
absolutely.
It's like, okay, where's that line between you're just bad at this versus there is a clear legal reason why you cannot? For instance, with Kimberly Gardner, not only was she bad at this, not only was she incompetent, she chose to be ineffective.
Yes,
but that's part of what voters have to deal with. What they discovered is that she was behaving illegally.
Right. She was criminally operating.
Yeah, she was breaking clearly written law.
Right. So we're talking about basically the equivalent of impeachment. Right. Like we've had that kind of little discussion about the potential third Trump impeachment that certain Democrat lawmakers
we'll get there in a few minutes.
We're trying to enact. But in this case, we're talking about kind of the similar idea of an elected official who has done something so bad that the nuclear option is being acted against them. That's what this is. This is kind of like the local sort of state level version of the nuclear option.
And it's funny because, you hear Democrats go, oh, you Republicans aren't all about local control now. But even some of the most hardcore Democrats are like, I know I'm supposed to complain, but I really don't like this guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But the Attorney General is going to be with us in 1 hour.
And speaking of Democrats and the nuclear option, did you know that there are Americans who, for some reason, wanted the attacks on Iran to fail? Larry Connors gives us that update coming up next.
And they taught me right and wrong, and black and white.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I wish I had better news, but same story. High temperatures in the mid-90s and the heat index up over 100 this afternoon, with just about a 10% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm making it over your particular area. Same story for tomorrow. Morning lows in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Highs in the mid 90s on Thursday, and we're looking at maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm. Those rain chances pick up a little bit Friday through the weekend, and temperatures begin to dial back a little bit. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
There is an illness in our nation that breeds, multiplies, infects all around us, sometimes easy to see. Other times it hides, but it remains alive. A survey right after our bombing of the Iranian nuke facilities is a perfect example. The survey taken within 2 days of those strikes found that Americans disapprove of the strikes, 56% to 44%. You make political divisions, 88% of Democrats didn't like it. 82% of Republicans did, but less than half strongly supported it. All these numbers are reflecting this insidious disease, this epidemic in our nation. Is not just being against what Trump did, it is that many critics were hoping anything he did, these missions, would fail. Such critics are not debating, was this a good idea or a bad idea? These critics simply wanted it to fail. To fail. That is a poison, which is bitter to swallow, but true.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
There's an evil new twist in the tragic story of baby powder and its link to ovarian cancer. Recently uncovered documents reveal that talc can contain asbestos.
The same asbestos that we know causes mesothelioma.
Right, and ovarian cancer.
In the 1970s, the industry wrote its own rules, allowing Johnson & Johnson to claim that its talc was asbestos-free, as long as it contained less than 1% asbestos.
Of course, Johnson & Johnson helped write those rules. So while we're using hazmat suits to remove the asbestos from our homes, Johnson & Johnson was telling women it's safe for their bodies.
Unbelievable. So if you've used talcum powder for feminine hygiene and contracted ovarian cancer, call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
They've already won several large verdicts against Johnson & Johnson for women just like you.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH. That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, obviously Democrats want to win back control of Congress next year.
Of course they
That's
do.
what politics is, and that's what politics does. And they want to win back the presidency in 2028. So you know how some of them think they're going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Impeachment.
Oh my gosh. And don't forget, Flashback Friday is coming up.
Yes.
It always sneaks up on you. It's hump day today. But you still got a chance to put in your request for 80s bump music. Remember, 1980 to 1989 releases on this music. We're making Jerome a mixtape.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Jay Monty messaged on Rumble a bit earlier. He said, "Does it have to be rock?" He said, "What about like a country song?" Or something?
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's from the era.
Yeah, we played pop and rock and rap. We had a couple of raps. Yes,
there were a few country songs that crossed over that were really big. But I'm going to say this: if it's going to be country, looking at you, Jerome, it better be good.
Yeah. Not every song has to stump Mike. Sometimes it's just about educating this youngin' over here. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate the 80s more.
I grew up listening to country music. That shocks a lot of people. I actually grew up listening to country music.
Yeah, that was pretty much the only music you were allowed.
That's
to
all
listen
I
to
was allowed,
other than Christian.
That's right. I was actually allowed to listen to country music and not contemporary Christian music because the contemporary Christian music was too worldly. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm literally listening to the Gambler by Kenny Rogers right now. You know, okay. Anyway, all right. So listen, I know this is not going to happen. You know, this is not going to happen. Everybody knows this is not going to happen. So why do the Democrats keep throwing the I word around?
It's a really good question.
This is so weird. I mean, it's
stuck on it.
Humorous to me. It's so funny. And there was and the funny part was, I was putting this into this to part of the show yesterday when after our show, I'm starting to work on the next day's show. I'm like, you know what? AOC tweeted the stupid thing about impeachment. John Fetterman responded, you know, and I'm like, I didn't even know that they were actually going to have a vote in the House of Representatives on an impeachment thing.
It actually happened.
It actually happened. I had no idea. Then Jerome sends that article to us. He texts that to us. I'm like, I did not even know they were going to do that. Because to me, it's just so far gone stupid that even the Democrats won't do it, and they prove me wrong again.
Well, the interesting thing, the way I stumbled across the article was I was already looking into a separate rumor going around about potentially impeaching President Trump for dropping the F-bomb. Not the Iranian bombs, but the F-bomb. And so I'm like, there's no way that that's an impeachable offense. And lo and behold, it was posted just it's completely different. But I don't know. It would be great if President Trump just showed up, though, with a nice peach cobbler or something. You know, like, impeach this.
Impeach.
Here's the thing is this is showing that some of the fringe leftists are running off some of the still far left they're running some of the, for instance, Stephen A. Smith, not the smartest guy in the world. He's actually said, well, maybe I'm going to run for president because apparently anybody can run for president now, but he was on his podcast, which does have a really big following. And he's kind of increasingly, you know, in the void created by, you know, Joy Reid being insane and The View being just dumb. And so here's part of what he said in his podcast just, I guess it was yesterday.
Same old song and dance. Thought we heard this before. I thought that was over and done with. The minute you lost the election with the popular vote in the electoral college vote and losing every swing state. I thought we were over that. But evidently not. Question number one. No matter what you feel about the president of the United States, do you think that's the time, while we're in the middle of such strife, to be calling for the impeachment of the president of the United States? Particularly if you're a representative, you're an elected official in the United States of America? I don't think so. That's number one. Number two, were the Democrats saying that when Obama bombed Libya, when he was in office? We're making all of this noise about how the War Powers Act is utilized and how Donald Trump didn't receive congressional approval. Well, this is not an act of war. This is eradicating a threat. Civilians weren't targeted. Nuclear sites were targeted.
Okay, so he's referring to AOC.
Yes.
And he's talking about Congressman Green, you know, who, threw the fit with his cane and was removed from the president's address. That's who he's talking about. He's talking about the Democrats.
Yeah.
Talking about his own party.
His party. Those are his people, really.
I actually, now, I think Stephen A. Smith is, kind of a loon.
Yeah.
But I do think that he is increasingly building a following within the Democratic circles, including some of the mainstream Democratic circles, even though I think he's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be, I won't say rising necessarily, but certainly among the voices on, I think, the slightly less crazy left, the slightly less crazy Democrats who are getting a little tired of the fact that they've been run for a while now by the far left wing of their party. The AOCs of the world, even if they haven't held, particularly powerful positions,
right,
they've been basically the neck that has moved the head of the Democrat Party for a long time now. And
now that's not to discount the following she has,
no,
which
absolutely
is huge.
It's still huge among constituents. I mean, they still, they can still, her and Bernie can still turn out some thousands to
Tens
their
of
rallies,
thousands, yeah.
right? So that's not to say that they're insignificant in terms of the number of votes that they can pull, but certainly the national influence that they have in crafting the message, in crafting what goes out in front of the wider constituency of America. I think that they've found that it has had a deleterious effect on their electoral process.
Yeah, so let me follow up on that, Gabe, because that's an interesting point, because we've often talked about the Democrats, the left, they circle the wagons, whereas the right, the Republicans, circle the firing squad.
Yes.
You're starting to see more and more Democrats, you're starting to see bigger names, including on the far left, willing to say, this is nuts.
Yes.
Stop.
Right.
They're basically saying, you're making me defend somebody I can't stand in Donald Trump. For instance, Senator John Fetterman was on Fox News being asked about the effort to impeach President Trump. And this was something he said right before that vote. Here's what he had to say on Fox News.
He's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
So I think what you've got is enough people now on the left who are trying to talk to the drivers, basically, of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Saying, guys, in order to do the things we want to do, we have to win.
Right.
In order to win, you have to not scare the voters like the boogeyman scares little children, because you're so flippin' weird.
Don't be crazy. The middle is watching.
Just don't be as crazy.
That's really the message. Now, interestingly enough, if the media were not so captured by the left, we'd be seeing headlines about a civil war in the left. Yeah. I mean, you got the example: David Hogg elected, David Hogg removed. Right? It's like this person said and among David Hogg's recommendations was primarying people who aren't far left enough.
Right.
And that's just kind of like a microcosm of what's been going on lately. With
politically, it's fairly stupid to go try to primary your own people in there. I mean, I think, for instance, President Trump targeting Thomas Massey.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb.
Don't do that, whether it's right or left.
Yeah, I mean, and it used to be, and I guess this kind of goes along with the circling the wagons versus circling the fire squad. It used to be that the Republicans were the party of kind of ideological purity when we'd go after anybody who wasn't red enough. In spite of Reagan's warning that, hey, 80% my friend, or 20% my enemy is 80% my friend, kind of thing. But on the left, they were all about the Big Tent. They were all about, I know, those Muslims over there would love to hang all these LGBTQ people, but let's combine those flags and march together. Yeah.
Try that in Gaza.
Yeah, try it in Gaza. But they were all about trying to appeal to as wide of a coalition of various interest groups as possible.
And they've been very succefful at that for years.
They've been very successful at it. So now I think, on some level, those sort of characterizations have flipped a little bit. The Republicans have been going with the Big Tent. I mean, MAGA, part of what MAGA's success is the Big Tent. Yep. Now that has some issues that we need to make sure we're keeping an eye on.
Yeah. You can be too big. We just don't know where too big is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you need a center post for that Big Tent. And I think that's conservatism, but that's a whole other discussion.
Right. So this guarantees Republicans are winning next year, right? Guarantees it, right?
Not quite. Yeah. We need to keep that all together, because the left, they are absolutely self-destructing. They are absolutely going after the ideological purity tests on either side. Let them destroy themselves, but we can't we can't just sit back and rely on that to get us through.
Yeah. So when the left is self-destructing and they're insane,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, Republicans, you just have to not be as insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a low bar to handle.
First of all,
but fill that void with a vision for America that
Yes.
people can buy into.
Yes.
Don't just say, but we're not them. That's not good enough.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The Democrats are trying to appear more manly. They may want to consider first getting rid of their man purses.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Light up your 4th of July celebration with Monty's Family Fireworks, located in Troy, Missouri at 215 Firehouse Lane, right off Highway 47. We've got everything to make your holiday spectacular. Fountains, bottle rockets, cakes, firecrackers, assortments, and safe fun for the kids too. Our competitive prices and friendly, knowledgeable staff guarantee your selections will be a bang. Monty's Family Fireworks. Find us on Facebook, and we'll see you soon at 215 Firehouse Lane, right off Highway 47 in Troy.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so what I'm about to talk about, it's not a divorce,
right?
Okay, it's not the harmful bad divorce, but
Right.
it's that in-house separation when you just can't. I mean, when you just can't bring yourself to watch what your spouse loves to watch. So I'm about to ask
man.
everybody, what's that show that you watch that your significant other just like, I got to go in the other room, or they watch that you're like, no way, because there's now a term for that.
Right.
That I saw. I'll tell you about that in just a second.
And at 8:35, we're going to be talking with the Attorney General Andrew Bailey. There's one area of law enforcement that has new leadership, and another that needs new leadership, and we'll talk to him about both of those situations.
All right, so that's what a screen divorce is.
A screen divorce,
according to the Guardian. They wrote this article.
So
on
you just literally can't.
You just can't. You just and that's so it's not like a fight. You're not mad at each other.
Right.
It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your relationship. It's just at this point in time over this thing, I will not be here with you.
Yep, I've seen those.
Yeah. So the new term screen divorce, according to, I guess, the Guardian, they said it's when you never have to agree on what to watch. You just go back and forth where one person maybe gets the TV, the other watches what they want somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or on their headphones there.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Since you can watch TV now on an iPad or on your phone or anything like that, I think everybody's fine now. You don't have to like even leave the room necessarily, but still when you're not kind of engaged in the same material, it feels a little separate-y.
Yeah. See, but are there lines where you're like, no way? I mean, is there something that you or Janet watch and you're like, the other one's like, no, you do you, but I have to go.
See, I'm just so easygoing, and Janet and I's interests align so much.
You're both pretty nerdy.
We are so nerdy. Like 95% of the content that we consume is just nerdy stuff that we can both get into. But for the most part, I think back in the day when Dancing with the Stars was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Now I'll admit this too. I was forced to watch Dancing with the Stars, and then I endured watching Dancing with the Stars, and then I kind of liked Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, see, that's how they that's why you screen divorce.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't get drawn into those things.
On Rumble, Beans Freedom Fighter 89 says Love Island.
Heck no.
Yeah,
all of those.
That was awful. That was like trying to break up couples, including married couples.
All of those shows, I hate
terrible.
them. All of them. I hate the Love Islands of the world. I hate the what was it? There was a mansion one at one point. There was a cruise one. There was a and then of course there's the Bachelor and the Bachelorette ones. I don't like those.
I think those are all done. And then there was a spinoff. It was either MTV or VH1. They did one with Bret Michaels.
Oh, did they?
Where they like had all these groupies trying to compete to dating. I mean, I'm like,
geez.
Listen, I love my hair metal, but this is stupid.
It's gross.
I mean, this is dumb.
The Flavor Flav one as well.
Oh, there was a Flavor Flav.
Yes.
Oh,
Flavor of Love,
right.
the Flavor Flav.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And by the way, Buck's mom just responded saying shows like Love Island make me glad I only have antenna TV. I get that. I get it.
Yeah.
Vicky says she can't watch 90% of what her husband watches.
No.
Okay, so like for instance, Rachel and I have very different taste, and at some point, she really got into these Korean dramas.
Oh, actually, that's a big thing right now with the ladies. That is a huge thing.
And she's like, "You want to watch?" No. I don't, but she doesn't want to watch Underworld, with the vampires.
Right.
So, okay. So we go, I mean, there's plenty of other ways to disagree on things, but on this one, it's like, you do you. But there are times I had to sit and like try it out. And I'm just going, what in the world am I looking at right now?
I mean, it kind of sounds like Twilight's The Ultimate Compromise.
Korean drama meets vampire movie.
Goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will say Janet can't do the horror stuff that I can.
Okay.
Like, I will occasionally. I'm not a horror fan or anything, but I will occasionally like a movie that's got some gore to it. But she can't.
See,
do
there just aren't that many good horror movies anymore.
Not really. I mean they've got the torture porn ones with like the Saw movies and things like that,
or Final Destination,
or Final Destination movies, which are they have their hilarity all their own. I think neither of us will watch a Fast and Furious movie anymore because they're too silly.
Oh, but yeah, because they're on what, Fast and Furious 56 now at this point, or something like that.
Yeah, Furious in space. Yeah, yeah, it's weird. I remember when they were just dudes trying to smuggle VCRs. Like that was literally the plot of the first movie, and now somebody's dragging a giant safe out of a bank and down the street using a muscle car. It's like that's not I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't.
It's weird, but this is like, if you're going to call it, I mean, it's funny they call it screen divorce. It's actually the healthy, you have your space, I have my space.
Yeah, honestly.
On this. And there are shows that, we would watch together, and the thing that we were really nerdy about is those really good home renovation shows.
Oh yeah.
But there was one in particular, I don't know if they make it. It was just called, I think it was just called Restored, I think. And this guy's in California, but he goes in and he's basically a history buff, and he tries to restore these homes to the way they were, and he looks up the history of these homes.
Oh, wow.
And I forgot the guy's name, but it's loved. I think we went through the entire series on that. I don't know if they make it anymore, but it's a really good show.
Now, when you're screen divorcing your significant other, is it proper? Okay, so is it ruder to walk out of the room, or is it ruder to be on the phone or doing something else?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah. So is it a separation, or is it a?
See, I think the best thing to do is like, enjoy this. I'm gonna go. I do not want. I just be up for. I just no. I can't. I don't want to.
It now it depends on my mood. Generally speaking, I like to my chair. Like I have my chair. It's my chair, and it's in the main room where we watch TV, and I'm just fine sitting in my chair while she watches whatever she wants to watch, and I'm on my phone, and I'm only kind of half.
Now, does she do the? Come on, honey, look at this. Look at this.
No,
she knows.
Yeah,
she's cool with it.
I think I think back in the day, like maybe 15 years ago or so, we used to do the whole snuggle up on the couch and watch the TV thing.
Then you get older,
and then you get old. You get your own chair instead of the love seat, and it's like, no, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. How about the other kinds of harmless divorces that happened in the home?
Bed divorce.
My grandparents, I remember before my grandfather passed away, I went over to their house. They lived in Columbia, Missouri. And they had gotten separate beds like Desi and Lucy.
Yeah, exactly. With some space between
and I'm
them.
like, with a little end table. I'm like, what is going on here?
What are you
And they're
guys
like,
doing?
well, he likes it tilted up like this, and she like, and I'm like, okay, so that eventually is a real thing. Apparently.
Absolutely.
And I've also heard of like some couples are like, they have their own bedrooms now.
Yes, they're in different rooms,
which is really weird to me.
That one's weird. Now, primarily, I've heard that only in cases of like severe snoring.
Oh, well,
like
yeah.
that's one of those like one's a light sleeper and one's a snorer. You can't. That's a makings for its own sort of conflict.
I can see that.
Yeah, so you got to compromise someplace.
Okay, so how about this one? Somebody suggested podcast divorce. She listens to true crime. He listens to fantasy football.
I hear it. I can feel
see
that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Clothing divorce. She shops at Bloomingdale's. He goes to Costco.
That's standard.
Get your Kirkland jeans or whatever.
That's standard to me. That's my understanding. Like I've never. It's like she shops where she wants.
Yeah.
Whether that's discount or designer, and I get the cheapest thing possible. Like I thought that was everybody.
Yeah, I'm not letting her dress me at Victoria's Secret again.
No. I wasn't prepared for that. Righty Right says bathroom divorces are pretty popular.
Really?
Yeah. That where either they use different ones in the house, or like she gets the shower caddy with all the nice stuff, and he gets the corner on the floor of the tub or something like that, or the two separate ones. Yeah, that's actually on the list right there.
Well, I can see trying to navigate the.
Yeah, right. He says the man always gets the hallway bathroom.
Yeah, the hallway bathroom. Exactly. I can see trying to navigate the conglomeration of various makeup and moisturizers and things like that can get a little upsetting. So at some point you want a nice clutter-free bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I guess I get the guest bathroom, but it's fine.
I get the hose that's on the outside of the shower or outside the garage. How about the pet divorce? She gets the cat loves her, and he gets everything but the cat.
Makes sense.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game. It's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody. It's our favorite song.
This is Victor Scott II, and there's something for everyone at Busch Stadium. Meet us at the ballpark on Sunday, July 13th, as the Cardinals take on the Braves. 20,000 fans ages 16 and up will score a slick retro warm-up jersey courtesy of Mercy, and 10,000 kids 15 and under can grab a one-of-a-kind Cardinals basketball thanks to the Pasta House Company. It's fun for the whole family. Don't miss it. Get tickets at cardinals.com/promotion. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Yo, this is Vic. All during the month of June, Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every weekday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Best Buy Flooring, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and DG Firearms.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community, Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump says the U.S. bombing of Iran's nuclear sites completely obliterated those sites, and there was no time for the Iranians to remove anything of value from those facilities because, in the president's words, we acted fast. A Democrat political upset in America's largest city.
33-year-old Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani has beaten Andrew Cuomo in New York City's Democratic primary for mayor.
My friends, I spoke with Andrew Cuomo about the need to bring this city together, as he called me to concede the race.
Cuomo, the former New York governor, had been the front runner throughout the race, and it was his comeback bid from a sexual harassment scandal. Current Mayor Eric Adams is running as an independent in the general election. I'm Donna Warder.
The Senate's on track for a Friday vote on President Trump's big, beautiful bill, according to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He adds that Mr. Trump will be fully involved in efforts to build support ahead of that vote.
Bessent spoke to reporters after meeting with GOP senators in the Capitol as Republican leaders raced to reach consensus on key provisions. He predicted that Senate and House Republicans would reach a deal on raising the cap on state and local tax deductions, a major sticking point, in the next 24 to 48 hours. Bessent predicted the legislation would also pass the House quickly and make it to Mr. Trump's desk by the 4th of July deadline the president set for the bill.
Correspondent Bernie Bennett. NATO's Secretary General says the alliance will be spending trillions of dollars more on defense thanks to President Trump. He credits Mr. Trump's demands for higher defense spending for moving NATO in that direction. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures down 6 points, NASDAQ futures up 75. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I wish I had better news, but same story. High temperatures in the mid-90s and the heat index up over 100 this afternoon with just about a 10% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm making it over your particular area. Same story for tomorrow. Morning lows in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Highs in the mid-90s on Thursday, and we're looking at maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm. Those rain chances pick up a little bit Friday through the weekend, and temperatures begin to dial back a little bit. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't
Vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Mike Ferguson.
It's a miracle we're not in prison.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
Are you kidding me?
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right. Did we debilitate Iran's nuclear program or not? There's a lot of debate over that. The Trump administration says, yeah, we did what we set out to do. And now that's being questioned. So we'll get into that here. Also, is another elected official in St. Louis about to be removed from office? And the Cardinals, they are making a habit out of this whole hitting the home run thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, 8:05 right now. Let's dump some news on you.
News Dump brought to you by Common Sense Rentals.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
All right, how much damage did the bunker busters actually do? There is disagreement on that. An early intelligence report suggests U.S. strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months, which is disputed by the administration. Here's the story.
The findings come from the Defense Intelligence Agency, according to people familiar with the early assessment. The report found that while the strikes on the 3 Iranian nuclear sites did significant damage, they were not completely and totally obliterated, as President Trump claimed. The White House strongly pushed back on the assessment, calling it flat out wrong. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And there are other assessments that say the nuclear program was essentially destroyed. Either way, the president was asked about this, and he said that he does not believe Iran will restart its nuclear program for decades.
I mean, they just went through hell. I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich.
And that report that was referenced in Greg's report just a second ago, that was leaked, and CNN was among the first to report that, which, of course, has the administration very angry about that as well.
Yeah, it's actually, I find it personally hard to believe that it was only the program was only crippled back by months.
Right.
Like that it doesn't pass the smell test to me, given the amount of explosives that were used here. It's like, I don't think our guys are that bad. I think we've been monitoring them long enough to know where the sites are. So well, like, did we just not hit it? It's
or did they have enough time to move everything out from underneath the bottom of the mountain?
Right.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And nuclear facilities tend not to be the types of things you could just move.
Right. I would hope not.
Yeah,
no, exactly. All right. Resign or get pushed out of office. That is the word from Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey to St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery. The Attorney General says Montgomery has until noon today, so just under 4 more hours, to step down or face the legal process known as a writ of quo warranto. Now, that is the process to remove an elected official from office for misconduct. The sheriff says not going anywhere. Attorney General Andrew Bailey is going to join us on this program in 30 minutes, 8:35.
If this were a Western, he'd be calling him out at high noon.
That's right.
It's like, you better hightail it out of my town.
That's right.
By
This
high
town
noon.
ain't big
It
enough
ain't big
for the
enough.
two of us.
You want to do this the easy way or the hard way?
I want to throw the dice against the saloon wall to see. Yeah. Yeah, but not yours, Alfred.
No,
we've heard about yours. All right. Illinois government spending itself into oblivion.
Again.
So, of course, they want to raise taxes to make up for it.
Again.
Good Lord. Starting next week. And so the actual take effect day is July 1st. So next week, among the taxes that are going up, a per wager tax is being implemented on sports betting. So, that's an easy target for a lot of politicians. Just do the sin tax.
Yeah.
So that's resulted in sports books. And we're talking DraftKings and FanDuel and whoever else you do that through. The casinos, I suspect. They're now adding surcharges on bets. So I have never gambled at one of these things, so I'm not really sure what the process is. But you bet on the game, there's probably some kind of fee or something you pay for the service. But now they're adding on an additional surcharge on top of that. Taxes are being added as well to short-term rentals like Airbnbs and VRBOs and stuff like that. And then the tax rate on tobacco products, going back to the sin taxes, that's being increased. It's going to be 45% of the wholesale price. So it was 36%, which was already pretty darn high. And so they're basically increasing that cost by about half of the wholesale price, which is going to drive up the cost as well. Remember, consumers pay the taxes.
Yes. Individual, like every time I hear these politicians talk about, well, we're going to increase taxes on corporations or organizations or this, that, and the other thing. No. Individuals pay taxes, regardless of whether or not it's written such that the organization pays it. Individuals pay taxes. So this is pretty much exactly
regardless
how it
of
works.
who collects it and cuts the check.
Right.
The consumer ends up paying the tax.
Absolutely. Every time.
Therefore, when, for instance, your vacation costs more money or staying when you're visiting somewhere in business or whatever it is, that means you have less money to spend somewhere else.
Right.
It is a zero-sum game. You increase cost here through taxes. That means there's less to spend over here. That is why taxes, for the most part, generally never help an economy.
No,
they may be a necessary evil, but they are not benefits for an economy.
You can't tax your way into economic prosperity.
No.
It's not possible.
As Winston Churchill once said, trying to tax yourself into prosperity is like standing in a bucket and trying to lift yourself up by the handle.
It's so perfect.
Yeah, precisely. All right. This is interesting in New York City. Polls closed last night in the Democratic mayoral primary, which, let's be honest, is going to decide who the next mayor is of New York City.
Speaking about a city that's underwater.
Oh, my goodness. New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, who has only been in America for like 7 years now, it looks like he's won this race. The mayoral candidate says he wants to use his power as mayor to do some big things, and he's talking national here.
And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors.
Okay, this guy is and I'm just stating facts here. He's an Islamic socialist. He's himself.
Yeah,
he's really more of a hardcore Marxist. I mean, he does not want a free market. Part of his campaign platform is setting up government-run grocery stores.
Of course. Yeah.
Because that's been successful in so many other areas.
Yeah, and it'd be run by the illegal aliens. Apparently. Jeez.
So it looks like he has defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo.
And that surprises me.
Right. And so here's the thing is the way that this works is if Mamdani does not get 50% of the primary vote, which it appears he did not, then they go to a ranked choice count of the vote. And so the numbers were so widespread between him and Cuomo, it appears that he's going to end up winning this with a couple of touchdowns to spare. So New York City is electing, they've gone from radical to more radical to fringe to now this.
Yeah, seriously.
So basically, it was nice knowing you in New York.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I guess when you turn the lights out when you're done.
Yeah, or we'll just come in and flush. All right, it was off and then it was on again. Now it's off again. There will not be an Annie Malone parade this year in St. Louis. That was originally canceled because of budget shortfalls. Remember, we talked about that a few months ago. A fundraising effort allowed organizers to reschedule it, but now the organizers say the parade would take too many resources from police, fire, and other personnel that are needed in tornado recovery efforts. So they're just not going to mess with it this year. They're hoping to bring it back next year.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already strapped for cops to begin with.
Right.
And now that they're engaged, at least on some level with dealing with the emergencies,
Right.
still, the cleanup effort still requires emergency services to be engaged.
It's going to be months.
Yeah, seriously.
Absolute months.
So it makes sense that they'd postpone it.
Right. All right. Our friends at the Freedom 13 are planning their annual ride. Now, here's the thing. This happens in late August, but there's a reason I'm telling you about it now. Bikes, motorcycles, trucks, Jeeps, cars, all are welcome on this ride. This is going to happen August 30th, and we will include it will include live music and food trucks and drinks of various types to raise support for the Freedom 13, which, as you probably know, was founded in honor of the servicemen and women who gave their lives at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Pre-registration is recommended. There is a limit to the number of vehicles that they can handle on this. It's a big number. This is going to be a big ride, but it is limited. So that's why I'm telling you about it now. You can learn more about it and pre-register at thefreedom13.org. And the Cardinals get a big win. It was a home win over the Cubs. That is 2 wins in a row against the Cubs. Final score, Busch Stadium last night, 8-7. Lars Nootbaar, Mason Wynn, Nolan Gorman all had home runs. Mason Wynn also had a 2-run double. Redbirds are now tied with the Brewers for second place in the division. Redbirds and Brewers now only 2.5 games back of the Cubs. Tonight's game starts at 6:45. That one is on FanDuel.
Destination, making cold mind to fight your war. Stop right now. I have had enough of this.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
I'm the boss.
on News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all away. Get up, can't you hear the other?
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
This is the actual precedent set why Bernie Sanders cannot have a 32-hour work week.
The Department of Labor wishes to report that the workers of Fredonia are demanding shorter hours.
Very well, we give them shorter hours. We start by cutting their lunch hour to 20 minutes.
Where's Fredonia? Oh, it's right.
Oh, here we go.
It's on the southern part of Gooberstan, and of course Rufus T. Firefly was the leader of Fredonia.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stigall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Susie Moore. Check out my show, Red State Radio, Sunday afternoon at 4, right here on News Talk STL. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, to some leftist extremists, literal street gangs are now the good guys compared to law enforcement trying to find and deport illegal aliens.
It's so crazy.
Literal street gangs.
Now, certainly not as lawless as all that. We still have our issues, our own issues here in Missouri. Missouri's Attorney General says it's time for Sheriff Montgomery's career to go the way of Kimberly Gardner's, and he's ready to get involved to make that happen. We'll talk to Andrew Bailey at 8:35.
All right, it is 8:18 right now. Okay, so how deranged will some leftists go? A couple of things we talked about earlier today. You know, the Democrats trying to impeach Trump again, and even 100 and some odd Democrats going, stop, enough.
Please
don't stop that. But one elected official in California is calling on Latino street gangs to get involved in the fight against ICE. And I don't mean, when I say the fight against ICE, I don't mean vote against something. I don't mean post something on, I mean
walking with a sign. No.
Yeah.
She was making very direct allusions to violence.
Right.
To me.
Okay. So this is Cynthia Gonzalez. And she is the deputy mayor, and I want to make sure I get the city name right here. So she is, or not the deputy, the vice mayor, excuse me, the vice mayor of Cudahy, Cudahy, which is in Los Angeles County, apparently. So it's a suburb of LA. So it's part of LA.
Right.
And she is the vice mayor, Cynthia Gonzalez. She put this on her social media, which you'll be shocked to know she deleted since then.
Yeah, judge for yourself.
But here's what she put out there.
Not for nothing, but I want to know where all the cholos are at. 18th Street, Florencia. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there like fighting our turf, protecting our turf, protecting our people. And like, where you at? Bien calladitos, little chulitos. I'm like, dude, they're running amok all up in on your streets and in your city.
Your streets.
And peace. When the big gang guns come in, nothing but like quiet, and we're out here, the regular ones that have never been jumped in, out here calling things out, trying to organize people, trying to do the thing. So don't be trying to claim no block, no nothing. If you're not showing up right now, trying to like help out and organize, I don't want to hear a peep out of you once they're gone, trying to claim that this is my block. This was not your block. You weren't even here helping out. So whoever's the leadership over there, just get your members in order.
Yeah. So those of us who weren't jumped in, which is absolutely a criminal gang, I mean, you don't have to be that well versed in the hood to know what that is.
Yeah. Being jumped in means you did something bad and you got beat up, and now you're part
and sometimes that's an initiation.
Yeah, that's part of actually what the initiation. Yeah, and the 18th Street Gang, and she started there, is one of the largest street gangs in Los Angeles, claiming 30 to 50,000 members between the U.S., Mexico, and Central America. It's a multi-ethnic gang in that regard, but it's Latinos. It's a Latino gang, and they're rivals to MS-13. So when you hear about all of the shootings and the gang-related murders and homicides and all that stuff in the area, it's them warring with MS-13. It is made kind of the sort of Central American Northern Triangle, they call it, of homicide because of the gang wars and of course the innocent people getting caught up in between all that.
And so what you have here is her basically
appealing to them,
calling for the militia, saying, you say these are your streets, you say this is your block, ICE is here and you're not doing anything. You come defend your. She's calling for a violent war against law enforcement, against federal law enforcement.
Absolutely.
And don't tell me that, well, no, Mike, she just meant join the protest. No. She's like, when they come here with guns, where are you?
Right.
By the way, the city of, and I apologize, if somebody knows how I'm supposed to pronounce this, tell me, Cudahy, California. So a spokesperson sent this out to the media. The city of Cudahy is aware of recent comments made by Vice Mayor Cynthia Gonzalez on social media. The comments made by the Vice Mayor reflect her personal views and do not represent the views or official position of the city of Cudahy. The city will not be providing further comment.
Cudahy.
So the city will not be providing additional comment. I mean, basically it's, boy, she's really stepped in it. What do we do now?
Yeah, everybody's distancing themselves at this point.
I mean, it is kind of terrifying to think, though, that these are the people that the left are electing to be in these positions, and that they're the ones saying, no, all these street gangs, that's fine. We would rather have that than not have that.
I mean, that's maybe the sing-songy thing is just the way she talks, but she's referring to the 18th Street and talking about these other street gangs as the good guys.
Yeah.
Remember, these are our people.
Yeah. It's like, hey, aren't you guys supposed to be out here protecting our people?
Yeah.
That's how she's
where you at?
Yeah. That's how she's addressing it. She's making a direct appeal to them. It's like, where's the leadership? Where are you guys?
Right.
As in, shouldn't you be protecting your
you
turf?
Own the streets anyway, right?
Shouldn't you be protecting your turf? She's saying, against the feds.
Okay. So is this just an offshoot fringe thing, or does this reflect a significant portion of far left thinking?
I've got to think it's a significant portion, regardless of the sort of distancing they say. Come on, just let's say somebody in the right said something equivalent. I can't think of an equivalent.
I mean, let's say that somebody's like, listen, hey, Proud Boys or KKK or one of you all, where are you at? I mean, come on.
Streets,
I mean, your streets. I mean, where are you at? You know, I mean, you did something like that.
Yeah. Why aren't you taking out these illegals? And why are you making the feds do it? Like maybe they say something like that. He's like, whatever the major white gang in the area would be.
Or some kind of crackdown from, crackdown during the COVID thing,
Yeah.
Hey, here comes the enforcers from the county or state health. Come on, where are you, Proud Boys? Come on, where are you? Where are you, KKK?
Right.
Come on, where are you at? I mean, they're coming in here with force. Where are you at? You say you
say these are your streets,
I mean,
right?
So maybe that's an equivalent.
Maybe that's to be the equivalent. Yeah. If somebody said that, we on the right aren't just saying, well, those are his personal views.
Right.
That is the no. He's like, this guy needs to be arrested. He needs to be kicked out. We disavow any association with him. But what you get on the left is, well, that's her personal views. We're not really going to comment on it. That's not enough. To me, that's just saying, I know it's not going to play well, but I don't want to say what I really feel about it. I don't want the
stink on me.
I don't want the stink on me, but I don't disagree. That's what that statement says to me, which means that's a mainstream view. Like that's how I'm interpreting what's going on there.
And even if it was some sort of like appeal to street cred, like I'm trying to appear hip and trendy and cool with the kids. I mean, it's unbelievable that somebody that has any sort of political authority, even if that was like an intern or like a secretary or something like that, they've infiltrated. Where these people are at, New York and California especially. I mean, maybe there's something in the water or the air down there. I don't know, but there's something significantly wrong with these people and the people that are supporting them.
And the fact that she felt so confident and comfortable putting that out on social media, knowing you're an elected official.
That's a long video.
That's over a minute long. She must understand. She must feel really comfortable that she was not going to get pushback from her constituents.
Right. So, and what's called false claiming, right? So if for example, if you know anything about biker culture, they don't like it when you wear their tags. Don't like it when you pretend to be part of them. So like, is she on first name basis with some of these
with the leadership?
Like, are these your friends and your family or something, or what? Because there's no way that anybody should be walking around name dropping gangs by name, saying, "Come out here, this is your territory." Not
much less calling them out.
Yeah, and it's not our territory that we need to defend together. Come out with your community. No, it's your territory. Where are you at? Why are you not out here? Your territory to a gang.
Right.
Really?
Come on, Bloods. Where you guys at?
Right.
Are you kidding me? Anybody saying that kind of garbage?
Well, that's another example. Can you imagine, I don't know, Hakeem Jeffries or this guy who's about to be mayor of New York City. Listen, Crips, where are you at, man?
Right.
Come on, man. I mean, you got the feds coming in and deporting illegals. Come on, they're coming in with guns. You need to meet them.
Aren't these your streets?
Aren't they? Yeah, you said they were your streets. I mean,
prove it.
That would be a similar equivalence.
So I'm seeing now, and the Democrats have kind of given themselves cover on the way they address these issues for a long time. The way they address these political issues. Now their rhetoric has been really hot. It has, in my view, led to an increase in political violence in America and an increase in how comfortable people are with political violence. Now, most of the time, you can't say, well, that was a specific call, and that's kind of how they've been getting around it. But there are plenty of specific calls that they've made. There are compilations of them. This one, I think, is the most egregious,
right?
Because it's not just a general, hey, make the Republicans uncomfortable, like Maxine Waters once said.
Right.
It's like,
get in their face.
Get in their face. Don't let them have peace anywhere. It's like, that's a general call to the public to do that. This is a general call to a particularly violent, illegal organization in America. Criminal organization in America. And that to me is beyond the pale. I think she should be arrested.
Well, she is under federal investigation now. So they've started that process. And so here's a statement from the Department of Homeland Security that was put on X. The comments made by the vice mayor of, how do we say it? Cudahy. Okay. So the comments made by vice mayor of Cudahy, California, Cynthia Gonzalez, are despicable. She calls for criminal gangs, including the vicious 18th Street gang, to commit violence against our brave ICE law enforcement. Again, this is from the Department of Homeland Security. This kind of garbage has led to more than 500% increase in assaults against our ICE law enforcement officers. Secretary Noem has been clear, if you assault a federal officer, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And so she is now under that federal investigation. I suspect that she and her attorneys are going to argue First Amendment protections on that.
Yeah, no.
She literally called for a violent battle against law enforcement to defend illegal aliens from the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's criminal, and she should have to pay a price for it.
So speaking of the law, here a little bit closer to home, Attorney General Andrew Bailey going to be with us. Man, there's a lot going on. You've got him now saying Alfred Montgomery got to go. We'll get his take on that. Also, that Supreme Court ruling regarding the mutilation of children under the gender ideology nonsense, that has an effect on Missouri. We'll get his take on that just ahead here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
Democrats produce mobs. Republicans produce jobs.
on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I wish I had better news, but same story. High temperatures in the mid-90s and the heat index up over 100 this afternoon with just about a 10% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm making it over your particular area. Same story for tomorrow. Morning lows in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Highs in the mid-90s on Thursday, and we're looking at maybe a spot shower or thunderstorm. Those rain chances pick up a little bit Friday through the weekend, and temperatures begin to dial back a little bit. I'm KMOB First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Fox News commentary.
President Trump is right to be frustrated with Israel and Iran, but this is still nowhere near World War III. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like President Trump said, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
It appears both Israel and Iran initially violated the ceasefire that was agreed upon, and our president is clearly annoyed, as he should be. But for the Democrats to still insist this is World War III, well, that's a bit of a stretch. Iran symbolically attacked our military base in Qatar, gave advance notice it was going to do it to minimize any potential casualties, and the U.S. sustained no casualties. That doesn't feel very World War III-ish, does it? I'm not saying this thing is definitely over, and we can never put faith in Iran, but if a symbolic attack that resulted in 0 U.S. casualties or significant damage is the extent of the retaliation and this ceasefire holds, well, we are in a much better spot than we were a week ago. Yet Democrats hate Trump so much, even when things look good for America and for the free world, well, they'll still root against our president. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris. How are you, Vic? I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
When you've got something to say, be heard loud and clear.
If they'll just do what they were voted in to do.
This party needs to get a backbone. They need to get some spine.
Join the conversation. St. Louis's place to talk.
The Democrats and the Republicans can give us all the lip service they want, but what they need to do is take action today.
1019 and 94.1.
You have to take a stand sometimes.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
1019 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Jeffco Patriot Radio. This and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
All right, Missouri's Attorney General says it is time for another change in the city, and this time, Loaded Dice Montgomery should leave office, and he's got a decision to make, meaning the sheriff, in about 3.5 hours. We'll explain that in just a moment.
Now, in the meantime, while we're waiting on that decision to be made, you can submit your Flashback Friday requests to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com. Give us a good old-fashioned 80s awesomeness.
Okay, as a child of 80s, I'm not sure I love the reference to 80s music as old-fashioned.
Okay, some totally far-out, tubular, gnarly, I don't know anymore.
Better. All right, 8:35 right now. We are joined by Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Andrew, great to chat with you again. I want to start with this. Of course, you just announced this in the last 24 hours. Sheriff Alfred Loaded Dice Montgomery being told face removal if you don't resign. You've given him a noon deadline. It appears he's not going to resign on this. Real quick, before we get into the specifics of the legalities, from a legal perspective, what's the difference between somebody just not being good at their job and crossing that line to warrant the state coming in and removing them from office?
Well, it's a fact-intensive inquiry, but let me say, when it comes to Loaded Dice Montgomery, there are clear violations of the law. He has betrayed the public trust. He took an oath to uphold the laws and carry out the official duties of his office. He's refused to carry out the official duties of his office, exceeded the scope of his authority, and actually violated statutes that explicitly restrict him from certain. Look, the St. Louis City Sheriff is different than every other sheriff in the state of Missouri. 115 elected sheriffs, but St. Louis Sheriff, their job is really to transport prisoners, secure the courthouse, help with the administration of the courthouse, and deliver service of process. He is explicitly, by statute, prohibited from enforcing the general criminal laws of the state of Missouri. And yet he's out on the streets disarming people, taking their firearms away from them in violation of their constitutional rights guaranteed by not only the Second Amendment, but Article 1, Section 23 of the Missouri Constitution. And he's arresting public officials who are discharging their official duties. So in the instance of the jail administrator, if he marches in, handcuffs her, and removes her from her office, that's not only a violation of the law in that he's exceeding the scope of his authority and violating the statutes that restrict him, he's undermining public safety in the city of St. Louis and potentially committing a criminal offense of kidnapping by felonious restraint. So these are serious allegations. It goes beyond just the clown show of buying golf carts and gold-plated badges, that number 3 times as many as employees as he has. He is committing serious violations of the law. That represents public corruption, and that's why he will either resign or be removed. And I filed the Toronto. That's the same removal proceedings we filed against Kim Gardner, and it's proven to be effective.
All right. So, and you did cut out for just a second there, but let's take him at his word and says that he's not going to resign here in 3.5 hours or so. Okay. So what is the process now? Did you say, like I said, you cut out just a second ago, have you already filed that writ, or is that the next step? And where do we go from here? What's that process look like?
So we have the petition for writ of quo warranto. That's the legal removal proceeding, the lawsuit. We have it drafted, ready to go. He's got until noon. And if he doesn't resign by noon at 12:01, we will file the lawsuit. A judge will be assigned. I anticipate that the judges in St. Louis City will recuse themselves. That seems appropriate given that the sheriff and his deputies secure their houses and assist them in the administration of judicial proceedings. And so the Supreme Court, the Missouri Supreme Court, will have to assign a new judge who will hear that case. And once we get that judge assigned, we will submit an order calling for the immediate removal of the sheriff. Be a process. There'll be discovery. Ultimately, there'll be a trial. That's certainly the trajectory that occurred in the Kim Gardner case. Obviously, she hit the eject button before we got too far underway because she knew it was going to get worse. And I think the same thing will happen here. Again, if we discover and find out that he's committed criminal violations and is facing criminal liability, how can he possibly stay in office? How can a judge possibly allow him to stay in office?
Yeah, and so that's going to be obviously and the thing is, Mr. Attorney General, is that the sheriff's office in the city of St. Louis, like you said, such a narrow scope of duties. They're essentially a marshal service, basically is what it is. And when it's run well, we have no idea they're there. We don't know who we don't know who the sheriff is. And it's unique in that the city is not in a county. So they work with the city, but they don't report to the city per se. And so is this why it needs a state intervention on this, because the city itself legally, I don't think, can do anything about him.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. And I think that the state has codified that safety valve. The people's elected representatives in the General Assembly and the governor years ago signed the writ of quo warranto. Again, that's a statute on the books at the state level that gives us the safety valve to remove corrupt public officials. It worked with Kim Gardner, and we're not going to let this go on. I mean, look, within 45 days of taking office, I filed the removal proceeding to get rid of Kim Gardner. That had gone on way long, and look at the hole it dug us in. And it's going to take us years to dig out of. And so we can't, that's why we have to be bold and take bold action to transform the city of St. Louis and eliminate that level of corruption before it digs us into that kind of hole again. And that's why it's really critical to move quickly on these. His argument is, well, look, I was elected by the people. Yeah, under a contract. You agree, they agreed to vote for you. You agreed to do a job, and you agreed to obey the law. He's breached that contract and thus betrayed the public trust, and that's why it's time for him to go. All
right, we're visiting with Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. This, of course, is not the only matter of law enforcement that's happening in St. Louis. The governor appoints the new board of police commissioners. Not going to lie, I'm still kind of confused by some of the appointments, but that's a whole other thing. But what's your office's role? So essentially, because this is reestablishing state oversight of the St. Louis Police Department, are you now essentially the board's attorney and counsel? What's going to be the attorney general's role, and what do you foresee as the immediate future of this board of police commissioners?
Well, I think this is a good thing. This is a Republican structure to take city hall politics out of policing. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, those officers are now state employees and receive the full indemnification of and the civil defense that my law firm provides, the law firm of the state of Missouri. And we can provide predictable, consistent, competent civil defense that empowers the officers to vigorously pursue suspects, conduct investigations, make arrests, and prosecute criminals. A good thing ultimately for the city of St. Louis and for the crime regionally. Law enforcement regionally will benefit from this structure. And so it's a good thing. Look, when it comes to the board, it was the right bill to get passed through the General Assembly. I think you'll see improvements across the board. And when it comes to the individual appointees, I think Governor Kehoe made unique picks, and I think they're good picks. These people are invested in the city of St. Louis. They're largely business owners that know how to create efficiency. Sometimes government is good at doing its narrow job, but not good at main systems. And so when you've got business people whose livelihood depends on them making economically efficient decisions, injecting that thinking into government is oftentimes a good thing. And these individuals are devoted to the city. Their livelihoods depend on the success of the city, so they're invested. They are pot committed at this point. I think this is going to be a win all the way around.
Okay, so I know there was one, Megan Green's lawsuit was dismissed by the courts trying to block the law and the commission from going into place. There was another one filed. Is that just kind of blowing in the wind, or what's the status of that one?
Yeah, it's pending. And look, these are procedural state constitutional challenge enactment of the statute. The courts give broad deference to the other two branches of government, the legislative branch and the executive branch, and the governor who signs those bills into law. They understand that expresses the will of the people's elected representatives. We will prevail in those lawsuits, and I'm confident that the Board of Police Commissioners, the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department will fit from this. And again, this is going to improve criminal justice across the region.
Well, and that leads to my other question regarding the prosecution, because we know from hearing from law enforcement and from some of their union representatives and attorneys that law enforcement was just basically they were picking and choosing their battles when dealing with criminals, even violent crime, because they knew they weren't going to get support. Now with a state board of police commissioners, with them being at the state employee level, with your office now being part of this, what are the immediate changes you expect? I don't expect the entire crime rate to change overnight in St. Louis, but is this a matter of more resources and the cops know that we've got their back more and they're going to be more aggressive in actually arresting and filing charges? I mean, is this something we could see quickly?
I think so. I think those things. I think that the transition coordinator, Derek Winters, I've been in constant contact with him. Look forward to meeting the board, within days of the governor signing the bill. I was in Chief Tracy's office meeting with him as well, just to explain the services we provide at the Attorney General's office. And so the level of coordination and communication has already improved from where it was several years ago. And I think that you're right. I think empowering those police officers, not only with the knowledge that they will have competent, consistent, predictable civil defense, empowering, that's a nuanced kind of empowering thing that's going to lead to better pursuits, investigations, arrests, prosecutions. But I think that the board can help find efficiencies in the system. I think we need to do more recruitment and retention of our officers so that we bring the best to the city of St. Louis to pursue the bad guys and get the worst of the worst off the streets. I think all of those things can happen. I think they can have an immediate impact. It's going to take a few days for the board to assemble and begin their work. But again, these individuals are pot committed. Their livelihoods, their families depend on the success of the city of St. Louis. And so they're highly motivated. This isn't just some prestigious service, where they receive public accolades. They're devoted to the city. And I think that's important. The motivation of why they're serving in this capacity, I think, speaks to the long-term success of the program.
Okay, so it's been a few days since we got the Supreme Court ruling, but a little more of a national thing. But there is an impact here on the St. Louis region in Missouri regarding the ruling of the Tennessee law, where Tennessee banned the mutilation of minors, banned that gender ideology nonsense, and said, no, you can't chop up kids in the name of this gender nonsense. We've got, I wish our law were stronger, but it's been effective. What does that Supreme Court ruling, what does that do for states like Missouri, which about half the country has these laws that say it is illegal to perform any of these things on children in particular? And I think it's important to note, we're not talking about adults making stupid choices from themselves. We're talking about children here.
Yeah, the irreversible mutilation of children that make them victims of a woke progressive ideology that's hell-bent on harming them. I mean, this was disgusting and deplorable. Within 45 days of taking office, Jamie Reed, when I took office, Jamie Reed, the whistleblower from St. Louis, came forward and swore out an affidavit explaining the harms that were going on, administration of powerful chemicals like puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones that were forever changing these kids, refer for irreversible surgeries. How dare anyone tell these kids God put them in the wrong body? We know he doesn't make mistakes. My office took bold action to shut down those clinics and worked with the General Assembly to get Senate Bill 49 passed. And ultimately, Missouri was the first state in the nation. The Attorney General's office defended that statute at the trial court level successfully. We're the first state in the nation to win that trial. I think to date, the only state in the nation that has won that case at the trial court level. So we were already leading the nation on these issues. And now we have great precedent from the United States Supreme Court saying exactly what you said, that the states have a rational basis to protect kids from gender mutilation. It seems like common sense to us. It's not sex discrimination to say you can't cut off kids' body parts. And so this is an important rule. It needed to happen, and now we have precedent to continue to defend the legislative actions that are designed to protect kids.
All right, Attorney General Andrew Bailey, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate the updates, and especially what's happening in the region here in St. Louis. What happens in the city is going to affect the whole region, so I really appreciate that update.
Hey, thanks, guys. Look forward to talking again soon.
All right, once again, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Got some thoughts on that? Shoot me a note on social media. Give me a call, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Our country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by idiots.
On News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Well, it is definitely summer here in the heartland. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service for all of your commercial and residential tree care. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. Let him come out to your homestead or your business today. Take care of everything regarding the exterior of your home. Grinding and land clearing, all residential and commercial tree services. They've got fantastic organic mulch in bulk, plant health care as well. Give them a call, 636-379-1830, 24/7. They're always available at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
Reed's Rockets in Wright City has your fireworks. Try the Max 800 shot for a 30-minute show. Want the ultimate American celebration? Get This Is America with over 100 gigantic color bursts. Family owned and operated, Reed's caters for families with the biggest kid selection. Spend $100 or more and get a kids assortment free. Reed's Rockets, 425 West Service Road North in Wright City. Take I-70 exit 199 and look for the big red and white striped tent. Open through July 10th. ReedsRockets.com.
Reed's Rockets in Wright City has your fireworks. Try the Max 800 shot for a 30-minute show. Want the ultimate American celebration? Get This Is America with over 100 gigantic color bursts. Family owned and operated, Reed's caters for families with the biggest kid selection. Spend $100 or more and get a kids assortment free. Reed's Rockets, 425 West Service Road North in Wright City. Take I-70 exit 199 and look for the big red and white striped tent. Open through July 10th. ReedsRockets.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Trump continues to pull off amazing maneuvers that some doubt would ever happen. But will they last?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
I want to follow up on the discussion we just had with Attorney General Andrew Bailey on a couple things. One aspect of the new Board of Police Commissioners, and we talk about the St. Louis Police Department going back under state oversight. And I keep trying to push other media to say this the right way, restoring state oversight, because, local media and leftists tried to like say this was something out of the blue. We've never done it before. This is taking away. Okay. We tried an experiment in the state. It didn't work, like we talked about the other day. And so this is restoring the way that it's been since like the 1860s.
Yeah, that's a very important context that some people may not be aware of by now, is that the amount of outcry of, oh, this is state overreach, this is Republican overreach into a blue city, but look at the type of people that they're electing. They're electing a guy who is literally out of his lane and out of his mind, for all things considered.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. When you look at Sheriff Montgomery, and then you look at what's happened with the city leadership over the Metropolitan Police Department. Remember, these are two separate police departments. There was at one point some city officials who said maybe we should just roll the sheriff's department right into the city department and we'll just have one, but then that would all be under, and you would have to basically eliminate a jurisdiction. And there's a big, long, like constitutional and charter process you would have to do. So it's just not practical on this. But let's start with the Metropolitan Police Department. Then I want to get to the sheriff's office here. And that is that with the police officers now being state employees, which honestly, I guess I missed that part of the law. I did not realize that until the Attorney General just told us that with state oversight comes the fact that these police officers are now essentially state employees. They now qualify for all the state resources. One of the things, and we've talked to Jane Duker about this, we've talked to some of the other police officers associations representatives. I know a number of police officers myself, and they know up until this change happened, the city hall did not have their back. That the circuit attorney did not have their back until she was removed from office and Gabe Gore was put in there. So part of the problem that was growing in St. Louis with crime is that the police officers knew when to pick their battles and not pick their battles. You know what? Is this really going to get prosecuted by Kimberly Gardner? Probably not. So why am I going to go do everything involved with all of this and then get thrown under the bus? And remember, she also had a list of officers that she would not take arrest reports from because she didn't like them for whatever reason, individual officers.
Yeah. And just from seeing some of the comments that we've had, over time in the chat, when people are getting frustrated by the lack of response from the police,
right?
That is a huge,
one of the reasons.
It's a huge reason. If you know that the people within your department or the prosecutors or the judges, whoever, is not going to make it worth the effort, then why would you not say, well, my safety is more important than stopping crime?
Yeah. And you also got the change in the manipulation of the crime numbers, which was easily documented. And to give credit where credit's due, even several of the Democrats and the leftists in St. Louis City said, no, those numbers, you're lying about those numbers, Mayor Jones. And I'm convinced that's one of the reasons that she was thrown out of office so handily, We know when there are 15 cars broken into along one street, that's not one crime, that's 15. So when you say crime is down throughout the city, we know that's not true because we experience it every day. We know that's not true because businesses are leaving, including high profile businesses, because conventions are not coming back, because we look at the sports teams, and unless the game is in the daytime, we're not getting the crowds we used to because people don't feel safe. At one point I mentioned 2 or 3 years ago, there was a great big conference at the Dome, and it was, my wife was speaking at it. And they put in their programs a big map of downtown St. Louis with massive parts, lines through it. Don't go here.
Oh, wow.
Do not go here. It's too dangerous. They put that printed in the booklet that they handed out to everybody. And so we know that that's the case. So with this, and the officers knowing they're going to have their back, and now the city being required to fund more police officers and more equipment, it's not going to change overnight. But eventually we want to see things moving in the right direction. And with Sheriff Montgomery, I like the answer that we just got from the Attorney General.
Absolutely.
Yes, people voted for him, but he has violated the law, including the fact that without question, it is illegal for him to arrest people. And he went and arrested literally a commissioner of the jail, disarming people. He goes, that's the violations of the law that to the Attorney General put him over the line between you suck versus you are no longer legally fit to hold this job. And I thought, you know what, that's pretty, I don't know how you argue back against what he just said.
Yeah. I would love to be just a casual observer in this man's brain, because it seems like he's just been watching way too much Dog the Bounty Hunter and Steven Seagal movies.
Right.
He's out there like trying to live some kind of action movie and just doing everything. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's another, that goes into the broader point though, is that for some reason, Democrats do not elect good leaders. And I want to still give Cara Spencer the benefit of the doubt for now with all the, she's actually doing a surprisingly good job also,
so far. Yeah.
But when it comes to things like this, it's just, what is it that motivates people to say, yep, we're going to get this person in here. And then now that I'm in here, I can do whatever I want because I'm not going to be held accountable for my actions in their mind.
We're talking, he's been in office 6 months, and the Attorney General in 3 hours and 4 minutes is ready to file that writ to remove him from office legally, to start that process.
And the passion in his voice. I mean,
he's
on a war.
He's fired up. And the thing is that the Attorney General of the state of Missouri generally should not be dealing with things this small, but that's how bad this has gotten out of hand, to where the Attorney General says this is an injustice. He's breaking law. And I like it when government goes in to hold other government accountable.
Yes.
Especially law enforcement that steps out of its lane. And in that 45-second answer that the Attorney General gave us, I think he wrapped that up incredibly nicely. You're going to be able to find that on our podcast. So if you got a friend in St. Louis who goes, oh yeah, your Republican state local control, send them that conversation we had with Andrew Bailey, and then see if they can still defend that position. Likely it could change their mind.
And don't forget the dice, Andrew Bailey.
That's right.